start recording.
For real this time.
Yeah.
So
And
it's not a real podcast unless you have technical difficulties.
it still adjusts. I don't understand you.
Oh, we streamed live 1 minute ago.
This is Daniel's fault. I don't know why, but I imagine it has something to do with his witchcraft.
Probably. Hey, Kayla, Alex was watching.
Was he? Did he comment? I saw that he liked the post.
Okay, maybe that's just all I'm going off of. So I just want to hope
Alright.
that he was actually watching.
So we are back this time, guys. Hopefully.
Are we live?
Yeah, we can go ahead and begin. I
Okay.
guess. Yeah. All right, you guys ready? Everybody in the
Yeah.
chat, you
How
prepared?
do I change my view, though? My Skype is being a butt, but yeah, we're good otherwise.
All right.
I mean, you don't really need to look at the Skype right now, so
I want to. I'm vain, and I want to look at my
don't look at yourself.
veins.
Yeah, if you can't look at yourself, who will? Wait, does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. It's Daniel's fault again. All right. Are you guys ready for the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do this.
All right. So I'm just looking at the chat. All right, everyone. We got 12
Everyone's
people.
freaking out. You
All right,
died like
so
twice.
Daniel, Kayla. Wait, who's dying?
Never mind. Continue.
You are.
All right.
You died.
Yeah. All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of y'all may know me. And here, this sucks. I can't do it. I can't
Daniel,
hear you,
step
Daniel.
in.
Oops,
Dan-
sorry.
Did
There,
you?
that better?
Okay.
That better?
All right. You guys
I
ready?
was just trying
Thumbs
to be
up.
encouraging.
Yeah. All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of y'all may know me, here with the Hylian's Gamescast on March 19th with some interesting Nintendo news, a lot of rumors, and a very good top 10 concerning some Breath of the Wild cut content. Here with us, joining us again, is Kayla. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Kayla, for those who may not know who you are.
Okay. Hello, people who don't know me. I'm Kayla. I'm in the Discord chat. I don't actually do anything online, but if you Google Chublima, you'll probably find something. I'm mostly on RuneScape.
RuneScape.
Yep.
Awesome.
RuneScape.
And as always, we have the one and only Daniel here as well.
But not really always. I wasn't here last week, but
True.
mostly.
Ooh.
Last week
As-
we replaced Daniel with the Spawn Wave. So for those who don't know who Spawn Wave is, or know who Spawn Wave is, let us know in the chat if he is a suitable replacement for Daniel.
Nobody is.
No,
I cannot be replaced.
nobody has Daniel's amiibo collection.
I have too many things, and I love them all.
Yes. All right. So this is the Hylian's Gamescast, episode 22, I believe. We will be talking about Skyward Sword HD rumors. Apparently, rumors suggest it's going to be remade by Tantalus, with some similar changes to what we've seen with Majora's Mask HD, with new gameplay mechanics and stuff added in. And we also have a new Nintendo Switch model coming out with 8 gigabytes of RAM as opposed to the 4 gigabytes that the original has, but those are just rumors. And for our discussion of the day, we have top 10 cut content from Breath of the Wild. This is a lot of stuff that the developers, creators of the game, have mentioned that they worked on that didn't quite make it into the game or the DLC. And then we will end it, as always, with our Zelda mailbag, where we answer your Zelda or Nintendo submitted questions. If you would like to guarantee your question to be answered on the podcast, how can they do that, Daniel?
You gotta go to Patreon.
Yes. Patreon.com/GameOverJesse. Because we get so many questions, that sometimes we just can't go through and answer them all. So if you want to have your question guaranteed to be featured on the show, please go to patreon.com/GameOverJesse. Just like Megan Neal, Casey, Willis, Rusty Caulfield, Link Use the Triforce, Tight-Lipped Gaming, Robbie Morgan, Shadow to Us, Lovable Christy, Daniel's favorite, Key of Time, 15, Lunarium, Michelle, Ashley, Monica, Justin, and The One. And Gus Calvo. I forgot. Did I mention Gus? I think he's watching.
I don't think so.
I need to update the list there.
But you know, not last week, I guess the week before, I like plugged my Instagram and my Twitter, and then look at that, Gus started following me on my socials.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Oh, what a swell guy.
Yes.
Warmed my heart and my photos with likes.
So nice. I wonder, am I allowed to promote my Instagram? I don't really use it though.
Why wouldn't you be allowed to promote your own Instagram?
Daniel
you
makes
can
the
promote
rules.
your own Instagram on your own YouTube channel.
I don't want to get fired for self-promotion. So yeah. Do you have an Instagram you would like to promote, Kayla?
Yes, sure. My Instagram is Chublima.
Chublima.
Like
and how is that spelled? Now, is that a capital J in Chublima?
No, Chublima.
Oh, okay.
Like Chewbacca.
Yeah, come on, man.
So capital D.
Yeah, that's perfect. 10 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah.
So, beginning our Hylian's Gamescast, we have news from Go Nintendo. Rumors suggest more evidence of Switch revision surfaces may include more RAM and new PCB. Go Nintendo says, recently we saw that data miners found some interesting info in the latest Switch firmware update. The juiciest tidbit was info that potential to a revision of the Tegra 210 that the Switch currently uses. Long story short, evidence points to the Switch using Tegra 214N. Whatever that is. I don't understand this.
This is when you need to spawn Wayvon.
Yes.
He would know this.
We should have had him on this week. Basically, it's an updated version of the CPU. It continues in an upcoming revision, and this was thought to be in response to a boot ROM exploit. It seemed like the story started and ended there, but now we have a rumor of even more revision evidence surfacing. The latest snooping brings out rumors of further revisions in the works for Switch. Supposedly, there's information that mentions both a bump in RAM and a new PCB. The Switch currently has 4 GB of RAM, and the revision would double that, making for 8 GB total. As for the PCB update, we don't have any concrete info on what it would be upgraded to. Again, this is all just rumor and speculation right now based off of data mining info from the latest firmware update. Even if a revision is in the works, it could be something that's for dev units only, and wouldn't make it into retail versions for consumers. Only time will tell, and as I've said before, Nintendo's not usually one to trumpet tech specs of their hardware to the public. If their changes do get implemented, we'll likely find out from consumers opening up their Switch units to see what's under the hood. Now, the interesting thing in this is, I believe it was last week or the week before, there was an interview with, I think it was the president or CEO of Nintendo. I'm not really sure if it was him or not. But he said something interesting about the Nintendo Switch, where he was asked about future revisions of the Switch coming out this year. And he said that something along the lines of, while they are always experimenting with new stuff, there are currently no plans to release a new version of the Nintendo Switch this year. So he didn't say in general, he said
this year.
Just this year. I think maybe it was Holly that was on that episode? I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah.
Cliff.
But I do remember we talked about that, and
okay.
It was kind of like almost intentionally vague, you know?
Yeah.
The way that the interview was phrased.
Yeah, so we have the quotes from him, and then there's also, as we've talked about many times, including the video that we just mentioned. Yes, Holly in the chat saying yes, it was her. So, you can go watch that video if you want to be updated on that news story. But there's also Miyamoto, whenever he was asked if there would be a new version of the 3DS released, because everybody was like, hey, you just released this 3DS, but there's a lot of people waiting for the new 3DS XL because, well, not at the time, not the new 3DS XL, just a new model of the 3DS being the XL. Confusing names there from Nintendo. But because there was like 5 or 6 different versions of the DS, the DSi, DS XL, DS Lite, DSi, whatever. Yeah, so many different versions. The interviewer asked Miyamoto, what do you have to say to all of the people who are excited to buy a 3DS but are holding out for the 3DS XL? Miyamoto said that Nintendo has no plans whatsoever to release another iteration of the 3DS because they are happy with the product that they have. A few months later, they announced the 3DS XL. A couple years later, the new 3DS XL and new 3DS comes out. So when Miyamoto tells you there's only going to be one version of the 3DS and then 3 more come out, it's hard to trust what Nintendo says. So whenever they're even more vague, because before with Miyamoto, he was straight up saying, no, there is not going to be another version of the 3DS. This time, the president of Nintendo is saying none this year. And now there are rumors and stuff, data mining coming out saying that there's going to be this upgraded 8GB version, which would be great. That would give the game enough RAM to have like higher resolution textures and load in more assets and stuff like that onto the screen at the same time. And then with also the upgraded version of the CPU that it was talking about, I think it would be a pretty decent upgrade, but I've been rambling for a while now. Our guest,
That's okay.
Kayla, what are your thoughts on this? Do you own a Switch? You just got one back from...
Yeah, actually, because I had contacted Nintendo again and signed on another contract with them, so they're sending me another Switch.
Nice.
But you know what? I think it kind of makes sense because as far as I'm concerned, like, when it comes to Nintendo products, like, not just, like, bash Nintendo, because I love Nintendo, but I find that I normally buy the console a little bit after it's come out, just because, like, sometimes the console isn't really perfected when it actually comes out. Like, we noticed that especially with the Wii U. Like, the Wii U on launch was a disaster, but they really fixed it in about 3 months or 4 months.
Yeah, I also got my Wii U late, and I don't regret that, because I remember there's a video I watched, actually, no, it was our pal Nate Jantz.
Oh, yeah.
When
Nintendo
he was still
Prime.
at Zelda Informer. Yeah, well, he was still at Zelda Informer at the time, and he put out a video about the Wii U. And he had he had the original launch one, and then he had gotten the new one as well, and he was kind of comparing how they worked. And he was saying, like, basically anywhere in his house, the gamepad range was working with the new one, but, like, he couldn't get 10 feet away from the console with the old one, and, like, the amount of storage on it was also greatly expanded, I believe. And just, yeah, it was just miles ahead of the original launch console. So I think the Switch is actually the Switch and the Wii are the only 2 Nintendo consoles I ever got, like, actually at launch. Other than that, I've always been kind of behind on the hype as far as console releases go.
Yeah, and that's why I could see that they would make these changes without really telling anyone, because, like, nobody really heard about them making changes to the Wii U.
Yeah, with the Nintendo Switch, if you remember, whenever it first launched, there were lots of people who were complaining that their Joy-Con would just automatically desync or whatever.
Yeah, I never had that issue, but yeah.
And apparently they made an announcement. It wasn't a big announcement, but they said that they were fixing the Joy-Cons if people sent them in, and then apparently newer versions of the Switch that released had the fix already implemented in it. So there has been some hardware changes already, just to fix like minor defects and stuff. But
it's
big
like
hardware.
The Pro Controller's D-pad as well.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember that. So there's been these like silent upgrades and fixes, but nothing major that would actually say like, oh, this is like Switch 2.0 or new Nintendo Switch, whatever you want to call it. But I think like 8 gigabytes of RAM wouldn't make the Switch that much more expensive, because RAM is really, like, you can buy cell phones with 8 gigabytes of RAM in it. So it might cost like a little bit more to the overall cost of the Nintendo Switch, but since the Switch originally launched, the price to manufacture may have also went down to where you could just release it at the normal price. Like right now, if you look at the PlayStation 4 Pro, as an example, it's the same price that the original PlayStation 4 was when it launched, even though it's like twice as powerful. It's just within those few years, the price to manufacture has gone down so much that you can get something twice as powerful for the same price as it originally was. So within the year or 2 years, when this upgraded version may come out, maybe they can release this upgraded version that's the same price as the original Switch, so it's not like people are going to have to pay more, and then it might even bring down the price of the original Switch. But even with the slightly higher cost, the performance upgrade that you would get just from doing something as simple as doubling the RAM would be really great. And then it would be a lot easier for third parties to port over their games. Like we've seen Doom, Skyrim, and a bunch of other games that are using like lower resolution textures and stuff. Storming here.
That's what that is? Oh my goodness.
So spooky.
That was so loud.
Are you okay? Are you gonna blown away in a tornado while we're streaming? Like,
I hope not.
Like, that was actually so spooky.
Yeah.
Is that actually there's a storm like going on outside, or it's a sunny day here, so I don't know.
I can't hear rain, but I heard the storm through my headphones, so yeah, everyone in the chat's like Lavender Town and Jesse's house. No, so with the Nintendo Switch, the benefits that you would get, and the benefits not just the consumers, but making it a lot easier for developers to bring over their games to use the same textures that they would on other consoles, or slightly lower textures, because the PlayStation 4, Xbox One both have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and like just doubling the RAM wouldn't necessarily give you that much better performance, but it would allow you to potentially load games faster. You could load in more enemies on the screen at the same time because the RAM has the memory to keep them all on there. That's why on the 3DS, a lot of games like Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS, where it doesn't have that much RAM, there's only like a handful of enemies that appear on the screen at the same time. Where like on the Wii U version, there's still a lot of pop-in with enemies, but it can hold a lot more enemies on the screen. And it's just the RAM doesn't have enough memory to remember like all of the stuff that's on the screen, and then all of the images from the textures and everything that loads on have to be stored somewhere with the RAM. So yeah, it basically comes down to being a huge upgrade with not a lot of additional cost for manufacturing. So that's just my take on it. I love the idea. So final thoughts, Kayla, Daniel. You never answered, Daniel. Nice. Would you purchase this?
I don't know. If it comes out? Maybe. I don't know, because I spend way too much money on Nintendo stuff. I mean, yeah, I toyed with getting a second Wii U for a long time, which seems absolutely unnecessary. Actually still toying with that idea because my kid loves the Wii U still. I don't know, like if it's a super significant increase, then maybe I would get it. Like if it's a very noticeable, if it's a not very noticeable increase, then no. But like doubling the power, I don't know, it seems worth it.
Yeah.
Almost. There should be a way to do a data transfer though. I think like 3DS could do that, where if you had you could move your save data from one 3DS to another. So if they could do something like that, then I would be far more inclined, though.
Yeah, it kind of gets messy with transferring with the Nintendo Switch right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The what was it? The Wii. So if you had your original Wii to update to the Wii U, you could transfer everything to like the virtual Wii console on the Wii U. But the Switch, there's nothing.
The little Pikmin animation, and they're carrying all your save data over. I loved it.
So it's like
Thank you, small Pikmin.
You had this feature built in for like from the Wii to the Wii U.
Yeah.
But it's not on the Switch, and it seems like one of the first things that they would think about, because there are a bunch of people online, I think, Spawnwave, who we mentioned earlier, had on last week, even mentioned that he had his Switch die, and he wasn't able to get any of his save stuff back. Did you have that problem, Kayla?
So Daniel knows the full story of this, but I'm not going to tell you guys because it is really dumb and it is really hilarious. And
you told us last time you were on, though. So
oh, really?
I think
I hope
you
you guys
did.
don't remember that. I don't think I did.
I think you
Anyways.
did.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is like I sent my Switch back to Nintendo, and they were kind of like talking back and forth and including me in their emails, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to figure out how to get all of your stuff over to the other Nintendo Switch console right now, so it'll take a while before we can get the Switch back to you. So that's where I'm at with that. But I think as far as like buying a new Nintendo Switch, especially if it's just like an upgraded version, I think like being so close to Nintendo and working with Nintendo, like I might have to, just so that way I can actually like advertise it. But for the most part, like I wouldn't. I'm really happy with the Switch the way it is right now, and honestly, I probably wouldn't notice a difference.
Yeah, if they do make some sort of upgrade, I think the least amount of power, like CPU or graphics wise, they could do to where people would actually feel enticed to buy it is if the performance you get with the normal Switch when it's docked should be what you get in handheld mode, because it doesn't necessarily double the graphics power, but it's somewhere between there. Like most games go from like 720p at like 60 frames or 30 frames per second to full 1080p at 60 frames per second. So the minimal update that it should give you, or the minimal advantage it should give you, is giving you the normal performance of dock mode but in handheld mode. And then
that would be cool.
The new docked mode should be enough to where instead of running, I think what they should aim for is at the very least the new docked mode should allow you to play Breath of the Wild at a full 1080p and 30 frames per second, if not 60 frames per second, as opposed to just 900p at 30 frames per second. And then when you go into like Korok Forest and Breath of the Wild, it dips below 900p, closer to like 720p, and then the frame rate dips from like 30 to like 15, to where it's like really, like the image gets really jaggy and laggy and stuff. So they should use Breath of the Wild as like the benchmark to where it's like, let us play the game without it like chugging along at certain areas. And then I would be happy. That would be enough for me to go out and spend $300 more on a Switch. But then I would probably end up selling the old Switch to make up some of the money.
Yeah.
So.
But I gotta have that data transfer. Like, 'cause there's no way I'd give up like all the progress, like Breath of the Wild for one thing, especially because I'm most of the way through Master Mode now. You know, the time I've sunk into Mario Odyssey and Splatoon and Rocket League. I won't be too upset if I lose my ARMS data, but
yeah. Well, what ARMS data?
I'll be okay, but I think I'll make it. But yeah, like a lot of the Switch games I put a lot of time into, and if we don't have like a solid data transfer that works as well as that Wii to Wii U one, or a 3DS to your other 3DS one, then you know, like for basically anything that 3DS can do, there's no reason in my mind that Switch shouldn't be able to do.
When you said that, I instantly thought
anything
of that song.
3DS can do, Nintendo Switch can do better.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like anything you can do, I can do better. That like popped in my head. So,
except for folding. That's the only thing the 3DS should be able to do better.
Yeah. No, you can fold the 2DS. It'll just like crumble.
But the new 2DS XL.
Oh yeah.
As the clamshell.
Yeah,
I really like the look of that new 2DS. The new 2DS XL.
Yes.
Oh,
And
Nintendo,
so
who lets you name
long
things?
games.
It's like, hey, why don't we make a 3DS without 3D?
Yeah. Call it the 2DS. But it just, yeah, I love the look of it though. It has a very nice, sleek design. I'm all over that, but I'm not buying another 3DS unit
All right. Well, I think we can move on to our next.
I think so.
Just
topic.
cut him off.
No, like were you not?
We just talk over each other.
No, were you not finished, Danny? I thought you were like
No,
we're at the end of your
we're
sentence.
Good. We're good. Let's move on.
All right. Sorry about that. Our next piece of news. There's not really a link for this. It just comes from random leakers. I put that in quotes on Twitter. So a lot of people probably know who the famous Nintendo leaker rumor starters are, but essentially Skyward Sword HD has been rumored many times. I think it's more of people want it as opposed to legitimate rumors, but it still is interesting to me as a Zelda fan and as a huge fan of Skyward Sword. I think it has one of the best stories and some of the best dungeons in a Zelda game. Definitely some of the best cutscenes of any Zelda game. But some new information, again in quotes, involves Tantalus, the same company that made Twilight Princess for Nintendo, is apparently the same company to be remaking Skyward Sword. However, much like Grezzo, when they remade Ocarina of Time and then Majora's Mask, when they remade Ocarina of Time, it was their first Zelda remake, so it was more in line with what the original was, with a few changes and updates and stuff. But whenever they remade Majora's Mask, because they did such a good job on Ocarina of Time 3D, Nintendo gave them even more freedom with Majora's Mask 3D. Kayla and I were joking earlier about them adding in the fishing ponds and some of the other stuff into Majora's Mask when there wasn't even a fishing pond to begin with in Majora's Mask, and now there are two. And not only can you fish at these two ponds, you can put on Fierce Deity Link Mask and fish as Fierce Deity for some reason. So
can you turn into Zora Link and just dive in and catch it?
Because
that would be the best.
Cannibalism.
That would be the only way to convince me to enjoy fishing.
Cannibalism.
No, the Zoras eat fish.
Yeah, but like that's what it's cannibalism. Because like in Majora's you have the mission to where you have to go and save the fish eggs for the Zora.
No, they're Zora eggs though.
Yeah. But it's
not cannibalism.
So it's okay for the Zora to go out and save their own fish eggs, but when it comes to eating other babies of other fish type, it's completely fine.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Anyways, with Skyward Sword, apparently, just as with Majora's Mask, Tantalus has been given even more freedom with Skyward Sword than they did with Twilight Princess. With Twilight Princess, it was basically texture upgrades. They changed, they added in some Breath of the Wild Easter eggs and stuff. I believe it was Mallow's Mart and Twilight Princess. There was the picture of the cutscene from Breath of the Wild hanging on the wall. There were some other updates, some textures around Hyrule Castle had like the Gorons and everyone with the Triforce, and everyone was trying to decipher exactly what it meant. It didn't really have much to do with Breath of the Wild, but everyone thought it did. So they're going to be bringing similar changes and more changes to Skyward Sword. So this is less of, do we think this is going to happen, because we've had that before. This is going to be more of, with these changes and extra features being added in, what do you think they're going to be? Are they going to add in, now just hear me out on this, not one, not two, 3 fishing spots?
No.
No, okay. All right.
Please no.
Podcast over, guys. Go home.
Podcast over. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Killed it with 3 fishing ponds. Come on.
Next piece of. No, well, Twilight Princess, you could fish anywhere. Hyrule was your fishing pond.
True, but there was still a fishing pond anyway.
You're a fishing pond.
Yes, I'm a good catch.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
What now?
Turn that around on me. No, so now I know this is physically impossible, but there are, like, in Skyward Sword there is a lot of lava in the the
Elden-
Goron, not the, yeah, the Elden
okay.
region. I was thinking Goron, but there's no Gorons, and well, there is the Goron, but there's no like
But they're not
Goron City.
there. They're not in the Gorons are not in the Elden province, which I
Yeah.
find a little janky and weird.
Yeah.
They're just kind of elsewhere.
There's just like the one that's like running around. Like,
Wandering
one.
around.
hey,
And there's-
have you
I
seen
think
these pictures on the wall? You can draw, and rupees will come
There's-
out.
3 Gorons in Skyward Sword. I'm pretty sure there's 3. There's Gorko, the main one,
Mm-hmm.
the archaeologist one.
Yeah.
Then there's another one in Lanera that you find digging. And then there's the one that does the minecart minigame.
Yeah. He's
So
my
I think-
favorite.
I stopped paying attention. I just thought they were all the same Goron. Not gonna lie.
No, they might as well be. Because the one of them, Gorko, is the only important one. I think the other one's Gortram. That's the one that does the minecart minigame. And I only remember his name because then I remember seeing there's like a part in Breath of the Wild that's named after him. It's like Gortram Lake, Gortram Ridge, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And I'm like, oh, that's that guy. Right?
It's that dude from the
It's
thing.
him. There's so many references in Breath of the Wild's map that are just like one side character's name from like one game. And
Wait, where's the lake? Gorko Lake?
Gorko, I think it's somewhere around Death Mountain. I think it's like Gortram, Gorko. I don't even know now. It's gone from my brain.
Nice.
I'll get my Switch and pull it up.
No, it's fine. So, yeah,
Look on the map here.
what kind of changes or features would you like to see in this Skyward Sword?
Okay.
Oh,
HD
what I was going to say,
Rumble.
the stupid thing that I was going to say earlier, the stupid joke I was going to make. In the Elden province, if you could like fish in the lava, but it wouldn't be physically possible unless like the
fishing rod just catches on
the fishing
fire.
line was made out of like metal or something. I
This
don't
is
know.
really embarrassing, but when you were talking about like fishing in lava, I was like, yeah, there's fishing in lava in that game, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm thinking about RuneScape.
Oh, is there
I'm so
fishing in
sorry.
lava in RuneScape?
You can do anything in RuneScape. Anyways,
Wow.
yeah. I don't know, Daniel, what would you like to see?
HD Rumble! But, like, it actually use it, like, good. Like, you know? I don't know. Because I want to see... Obviously, if they were going to do it, you'd got to use the Joy-Cons for motion control. It just makes too much sense. You pretty much got 2 modes. So they can actually make, I think, the sword play a little more intuitive. Like, obviously, you could just do this, and Link will actually, you know, do this or whatever.
Yeah,
But
and
then
I
when it
felt
came to
with
actually
Skyward Sword, they did
slashing-
go a little bit further as well with the sword.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I liked that, you know, like how one-to-one it was with your actions. But as soon as you're actually slashing, there's pretty much stabbing or 8 directions of slashing and then the spin attacks.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually a full 360 when you're actually doing a slash. So I feel like maybe they could do a bit more with that. Make it a little more... Like, they're pretty precise with it, but they could be more precise. But I would like them, like, with Twilight Princess HD's re-release, you had the option to use, like, you know, there's a lot of options of how you could play it. You could have the over-the-shoulder aiming or first-person aiming, and you could have the map flipped or not, and you could have motion controls on or off. And so even though I would probably play Skyward Sword HD with the motion controls, I know that that was a barrier for a lot of people. And so if they had the option to just have it like Pro Controller, gyroscope aiming for your stuff if you want it, but you can have motion controls off if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would detract from the experience overall because Skyward Sword is really built around that.
Mhm.
But it would still be nice to see the option because I think if just people saw that the option to have it off was there, they would be more inclined to try it if they haven't already. So, you know, that and HD Rumble. So,
That and HD Rumble.
HD Rumble, please do something with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember, didn't Nintendo say with Breath of the Wild they wanted to include HD Rumble with the Switch version, but they ended up not doing it because they wanted both to be as close to each other as possible. They didn't want one being the superior version.
Even though the Switch is
Yeah.
the superior version.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was exactly they I don't know what they could have done with it in Breath of the Wild, but they wanted to do something.
Yeah, maybe something with but then it would have affected the Wii U version. Like there are the shrines to where you have to use motion control to like turn it a certain way.
Yeah.
To figure out the puzzles. So if they used HD Rumble to assist you or something, to where if you feel like the entire controller vibrating instead of just a section of it, then you know that you're getting closer to how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, or you could feel like the ball rolling on the thing, like because they do that where like I don't know if you played
Nintendo,
much
hire
Switch,
Daniel.
but in the 1-2 Switch, which is like pretty much a tech demo of how HD Rumble works, there's a game where you can like feel marbles rolling inside the Joy-Con. Mm-hmm. It's not really there, but actually
it's my favorite pastime.
It actually, there's no point for it, but it does feel like there's marbles in there. I don't know how it's done technically, but it is kind of impressive. Pointless, but kind of impressive.
Well, yeah, because like the entire point of 1-2 Switch was to really like demonstrate all of the different capabilities that their Joy-Con had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many of them pointless, but impressive. I don't know.
You're right. It would be really nice to see them incorporate that into other games.
Mm-hmm. But the milk thing was too weird for me.
Here's a question. Twilight Princess got an entirely new dungeon.
Ooh, give me one of those.
And a new amiibo.
Give me one of those.
What amiibo would and the
Loftwing amiibo.
The Twilight Princess amiibo ended up working with Breath of the Wild to bring back Wolf Link. So
Loftwing amiibo.
In these updates, if they add a new dungeon to Skyward Sword and they add a new amiibo for Skyward Sword,
Loftwing amiibo, please.
What are they going to be? Since Daniel is having a hard time trying to think of what he wants, Kayla, what amiibo would you like to see?
This is a really hard question for me because I don't care about amiibos the way
Can we get a Groose amiibo?
Look at him freaking out.
Can we get a Groose amiibo?
Yeah. Groose.
I would like that. Or like Groose,
I would love a Groose
or
amiibo.
Impa, because Impa is my jam.
I
really want a
Loftwing amiibo. A Loftwing amiibo makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like a Loftwing amiibo would be so cool, especially if it could work with other games.
Imagine a software update.
It sounds like bombs are going off.
It does. Are you okay?
Oh my goodness.
Does like the air raid alarms start going off? You know, the air raids.
I'm gonna
World War I
Google.
jokes. I'm sorry.
The weather.
You're gonna Google what's going on outside right now.
Hey. Are we being attacked?
Oh my goodness. But no, I really do want a Loftwing amiibo though. Like legit, because it would be so cool. And just imagine a software update to Breath of the Wild, and then boom, you can summon your Loftwing.
Oh, it'd make getting around to places so much easier and actually like being able to explore everything.
Yeah. Like, I can understand if they put a limitation around it.
Experience. Yeah.
But,
you have to feed it like you do the motorcycle.
Yeah, there you go.
Just give it some wood.
I was going to say give it some carrots or something, but sure.
Yeah.
Wood,
okay, you feed the Loftwing some wood.
Some ancient shafts, some ancient gears, flint, and wood. There you go.
No, it would make sense if it would only eat, like, certain types of food. Like, it could only eat fish.
Yeah. Or it's like your horse. You could feed your horse, but they'll only eat certain food.
I thought you meant feed the horse to the Loftwing.
No!
That's horrible, Daniel.
No, Epona, you're out. Oh my goodness. No, don't feed your horse to Loftwing. You can give your horse food, is what I should say. But yeah, like that they'll only eat, I think, carrots and apples. I don't think they'll eat much else than that.
Okay, there are thunder shower warnings.
Warnings?
Oh,
no,
shower.
That was lightning.
Warnings. We are past warnings here.
Okay.
The Thunder Dragon himself is out there.
Yes, Nehru, I believe. No.
It's getting real out there.
One of them.
Well, I guess there's two Thunder Dragons. There's Nadra in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah, Nadra.
And then there's Lanayru, the Thunder Dragon in Skyward Sword. So what do we make of that?
Interesting. All right. So what I want to say about the Loftwing amiibo, bringing in the Loftwing for Breath of the Wild, like it does with Wolflink, what a lot of people, the instant reply that a lot of people say, there's probably people watching the video typing this up, is that Loftwing would ruin the exploration of Breath of the Wild. What I always say, and a lot of other people have to say, is in Breath of the Wild, they say a Loftwing would ruin exploration because you would just simply be able to fly somewhere. The game already lets you instantly warp somewhere. So if anything, giving you a Loftwing would add more exploration, because then not only are you exploring the land or just warping to where you want to go, you can fly overhead and maybe, like, if you're going from one area to another and you're walking there, you might skip a lot of areas that you wouldn't otherwise come across. But if you are flying on the Loftwing and you use the camera to look down while you're like flying over a lake or a mountain, you might see something that you otherwise wouldn't have seen. So then you're like, oh, I need to mark that spot on the map and visit later, or even fly down there to get it right then. And that adds more exploration. It doesn't take away exploration. Again, because the game already lets you warp, literally with the DLC and the warp medallion, whatever it's called, you can literally warp anywhere you want to.
It's true.
That takes away exploration.
Plus, you can kind of fly with Rivali's Gale plus Paraglider anyways if you use it right.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there would probably be a limitation to the Loftwing's usage, like either stamina or food, like the motorcycle, but... yeah, also I have to apologize in the chat, everyone's correcting me. It was Farosh, not Nadra, that's the Thunder Dragon in Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry everybody, I let y'all down. I can't believe I did.
It's okay, Daniel.
Like looked at the chat and you saw everyone was just yelling.
Oh, yeah, no, actually, I'm sorry guys. You got me, that was an error there.
Alright, so...
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Amiibo added the Skyward Sword with Breath of the Wild connection, which would be cool because then they've already said there's no more DLC for Breath of the Wild, but they could get around that by releasing Skyward Sword and be like, hey, it's backwards compatible. And then they can release the Loftwing to use to fight in Smash Brothers, and then you can use it there too.
That's another thing, is that is we didn't talk about amiibo compatibility in Skyward Sword. They would have to add that.
Yeah, what would it do for Skyward Sword?
Well, I don't know. Maybe something similar to, like, with Twilight Princess, it gave you, like, health pickups or arrows. I think the Zelda ones were health, like, hearts. Arrows for the Link amiibo.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
The Wolf Link, if you tapped it, you would transform into Wolf Link, which was not actually that useful because it was just mapped to a button on the gamepad screen anyways. And Ganondorf amiibo gave you hard, like extra hard mode.
In Skyward Sword, like you just press down to call the Loftwing. So, like picking up your amiibo after you jump to tap it would be less intuitive than just tapping it down.
far less.
Maybe you can tap it to refill your whatever they're called, where you can like dash forward.
Just stamina?
Yeah. Is it stamina? I don't know.
Yeah,
the stamina. It refills your stamina if you tap it.
But then you have to like be running. Well, I don't know. That could be a little awkward to actually be doing. Like you're running and you're just like
not Link's, the Loftwings.
Oh, the Loftwing stamina.
So you get like where you can like whack your Wii remote forward like this to get the Loftwing to dash, and you only have like 3 or 5. You tap the amiibo, it instantly fills up, so you're not just like waiting for it to.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. That is legit some scary weather, dude.
Okay, so yeah, we are in. I was gonna make a joke saying that we were in that one place. Is it the Thunder Plane? What's it called in Skyward Sword, where it's always like lightning and stuff? You have to fight.
Oh, the thing in the sky. I totally don't remember.
Yeah.
No, that Thunder Dome.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it was called.
Where Levias is there. You have to fight
Yeah.
the parasite on Levias. Anyways,
Back me up in the chat. I'm pretty sure it's called the Thunderdome.
yeah. So
Thunderdome.
Yeah. What? Okay. So aside from Amiibo,
So also Kano in the chat says someone's playing the Song of Storms outside of Jesse's house.
for real. So
Thunderhead.
Thunderhead. We
That
have.
is right.
That's where you have to go to like.
Yeah,
to
you fight Levias and.
Yeah, there's like the bugs and stuff. That guy, he's there
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the game. Yeah, is that all that we have to talk about with Skyward Sword? Can you guys think of anything else?
Actually, I have a lot to say apparently.
Okay.
Oh.
One thing that bothered me in Skyward Sword, okay? When you jump off of Skyloft,
Mm-hmm.
Skyloft is all one loaded area, right? The
Mhm.
outdoors of Skyloft. You
Yep.
jump off, you call your bird, and then the sky is a separately loaded area.
Yeah.
And then when you go above Skyloft, if you like all the islands in the sky are one loaded area, but if you
Mhm.
jump off back to Skyloft, then it's a separate loaded area. And I would like that to just be all together, to have it all in one loaded area, because when you jump, it always bothered me when I jump off of the Loftwing right above Skyloft, and I should land in one spot, and then it kind of fades to white, and then it fades back out, and I'm like 30 feet in the other direction, and I land, and I'm like, this is where you loaded me? Like, I was way over there. Like, it's not that big a deal, but for me, it really takes me out of the game when you go through this loading screen, and you're like way not close to where you actually jumped. You know what I
You're
mean?
like totally immersed, and then suddenly you're teleporting through the game.
And you're
Here's
just like,
here's what I have to say about that. That could be possible. I think they would have to customize the engine,
yeah,
the
it might be too much
original
work.
engine
They
for
might not
Skyward
do it.
Sword. But here's the thing. When Nintendo started with their GameCube Wii version of Zelda game, like being remade for the Wii U or whatever, Wind Waker was remade using the early Zelda Wii U engine. And they even said they experimented with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, and they felt Wind Waker benefited the most, which is why if you compare the GameCube Wind Waker to the Wii U Wind Waker, it looks drastically different, where the Wii version of Twilight Princess and the Wii U version of Twilight Princess look different, but not as drastic, because it's running off of the same engine. I always assumed Nintendo just didn't want to give a third party use of their engine that they were keeping for Zelda, Wii U, or what would become Breath of the Wild. So that's why, because they were the ones that remade Wind Waker, they used their new engine. But with Twilight Princess, it was Tantalus, and they didn't want to give up their new engine, so Tantalus just upgraded the original engine. But since Breath of the Wild's already out, if they let Tantalus remake Skyward Sword using the same engine, then you could potentially get it to where all of the islands are connected.
Yes. And that's the thing, is that, like, given the scope of Breath of the Wild, that can be one seamless world, there's no reason that the sky section of Skyward Sword can't be.
Yeah.
Like, there's way less going on in there. Yeah, and there would also, something else that would be really cool is if they had, like, added some ground routes, I want to say. Like, you might the first time have to go back to the sky and then jump through the column, but then after that, if they can add a way to connect the different surface areas together, because they're, like, basically in 3 separate areas, right?
So, like, bring
Just, like,
Hyrule Field?
They don't have to add a whole new, like, area, but, like, add a path, and you go down the path, and then you end up in the other area. You know what I mean? Just for, like, ease.
That
like
was
a shortcut.
See, Nintendo, in interviews, they said Breath of the Wild, the original concept of it, began to where they wanted a huge open world, everything connected, because Skyward Sword was so, like, parted off and so linear. So you had, like, these 3 wonderful areas, but they weren't connected, so they felt isolated. So since they wanted to correct that, and that was the first mistake that they wanted to correct when they were working on the new game. With these, the rumor is there's going to be a lot of updates coming to the Skyward Sword HD version, So if this was one of the updates to where it was, they're adding in, like, it could be just as barren or empty as like Hyrule and Ocarina of Time or Hyrule Field and Twilight Princess, to where there's like occasional enemies, some random chests, but there's not too much going on in the actual Hyrule Field. If they did something similar with Skyward Sword, it wouldn't take much just to put in a generic land for you to like run around in, and then they could add Epona. But I think that would be a bit too much.
Probably won't, but that would be cool.
Yeah.
We would finally get like Toon Epona from Wind Waker 2. That never happened.
But see, my thought was just kind of like, even if, like, you know, in Ocarina of Time, there's like a shortcut in the Lost Woods, and you just go down it, and then you're in Goron City. Like, it's just a little shortcut thing. Even just something like that would make miles of difference, because if you need to go from one area to the other, it's annoying to go to a statue and then go up into the sky and then fly over and then jump down the thing and then go to the area, you know? So they just add a little shortcut, you know?
There are all of the remnants and stuff of like ancient buildings and everything and Breath of the Wild. It would be cool since now they have the landmarks and areas that they could represent in the overworld for Skyward Sword. That would be really cool if they like added in those connections.
Yeah. That would, yes.
And then like the remnants of like ancient Hyrule before they were like taken, put on top of Skyloft. So like you could see potentially like the buildings or temples or whatever they had in Hyrule Field before Demise came to destroy everything. And then maybe you would even see like the huge crack in the ground that he rose up from.
Oh.
So
there's a lot of opportunity here, you know, like
do it, Tantalus.
Are we like officially developing the new Skyward Sword HD right now? Like, is that what's happening?
I'm getting some texts from Miyamoto right now.
Oh no, the Nintendo ninjas are gonna come for you.
So
we're gonna shut down the stream again.
The real boss is actually Mario. Mario is the boss, man.
Yeah,
come on.
He sent me a GIF with thumbs up saying we're good.
All right, nice.
Just like that. Yeah, there we go.
What was it like during all of the Breath of the Wild teases? He would always be like,
yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
All right. Do we have anything left for Skyward Sword? And we can move on to the top 10 Breath of the Wild cut content.
All right, let's do it.
Let's move on.
I think the
talked
chat's
a lot of Skyward Sword.
Breath
All
of the Wild.
So this one's going to get a new intro because it's different from the questions, similar to how the mailbag gets its own intro. So you guys ready?
Yes.
Yep.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me, here with Kayla, who is our special guest for the day for the Hylian's Gamescast. And of course, as always, except last week, we have Daniel.
Hi.
Yes. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yes. Today we will be discussing the top 10 features, gameplay mechanics, or just random cut content removed from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. These are in no particular order, and we have some of these we're going off of memory, but a lot of these we do have the actual quotes from Aonuma, Fujibayashi, or the other people who worked on the games. So to start us off, the very first piece of cut content, we have the hook shot or claw shot. Now, yes, we're not going in
soft spot for us all.
Yes, we have a previous video on this, but I believe this is Fujibayashi, the director of Breath of the Wild. His quote from the interview says, "Hookshot was one we experimented with and tested, as well as the beetle from Skyward Sword." It just lightninged again.
Just lightninged again.
Yeah. No, I seen like lightning struck. Like I seen a flash of light come through the window.
The lightning comes first.
Yes. That's why.
What?
Yeah. True story.
So spooky.
Thor told me.
Oh.
This. Yeah, he's
the lightning comes first, by the way.
Yeah. All right. So after a lot of
the lightning comes first. Sorry.
After a lot of experimentation and testing, we weeded out all the ones that had potential detract from the gameplay and enjoying the game. What's left currently, the 4 items, were really what would draw out the fun of the game. During the original experiments, they played around with allowing Breath of the Wild players to obtain objects within dungeons as you could in previous games. They even tried the Link Between Worlds approach, although that was a little limiting. They continue. We did not want. We did at one point test what it would be like to be able to obtain some of these abilities in some point in the story. Fujibayashi said, "But when we do that, you are pigeonholed into having a specific order of dungeons. We did have ideas that if a certain dungeon needs bombs, for example, we might put a little bomb icon on the dungeon walls or somewhere on the ground. So potentially, not only would you have gotten the hookshot, or even before that it says they also experimented with the beetle from Skyward Sword. Fun fact, in Skyward Sword, before it became the beetle, it was a rocket-powered glove. That Link would put a glove on his hand, and it would shoot out with a rocket, and you could just grab
cool,
stuff.
Actually, that's
yeah.
I always thought it was just a replacement for the boomerang, but they wanted to like have more control over the boomerang.
Yeah.
But I want. We need to go back to the last topic. I want them to add the rocket-powered glove back.
That was. Yeah, maybe next time we can do like a top 10 of Skyward Sword content. But that was during. I remember I was writing for Zelda Dungeon at the time. It was one of the articles that I actually wrote. It was covering one of the major Iwata asks for Skyward Sword, which were really great interviews with the developers of the different games and stuff. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Since there are 10 on this list, we won't go as in depth as we have been on the previous topics, so we can kind of get through fairly quickly. So hookshot or claw shot, whatever variation it could have been, hopefully it would have been like a double claw shot scenario, so you could be Spider-Man, which is something that they also mentioned from a different interview, that you could basically like hook shot your way around or claw shot your way around and pretend you're Spider-Man, like
So
going
Link
between the
confirmed
mountains.
as Spider-Man.
Maybe.
I think it would have been a really cool idea. Oh, it would have helped so much if they had like mountains that were just like dedicated to climbing with a hook shot or a claw shot. But
yeah,
and there was it also mentioned in the same, which is I guess a bonus canceled thing, getting the dungeon item or getting the items in dungeons like traditional things, and then they would have just as in A Link Between Worlds had a picture of which item was needed for that dungeon.
it kind of makes sense. You kind of get the champion abilities at the end of each of the divine beasts, so I kind of figured that was like more the stand-in for receiving items in dungeons. Just like because they're more kind of like optional, like you actually don't really need them, but they're very, very helpful. But other than the first 4 shrines, that's about it. Like those are the kind of the stand-ins.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the hookshot. The hookshot's always like pretty much always my favorite item in pretty much any Zelda game it's in. I would rather see the hookshot than the claw shot, and here's why. Now I normally the claw shots, like especially Twilight Princess, I like better, but
tread lightly.
But especially double claw shots. But what I'd like to see is hookshot in Breath of the Wild, because the claw shot can grab onto whatever it can grip, basically. So usually there's like specific claw shot targets. The hook shot in like Ocarina of Time, Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past, etc. Basically whatever it can hook into, mostly wooden things. So if they limit it to, you can use the hook shot, but it can only hook onto wooden things, rather than just whatever it can grip on, which is usually just targets.
So here's a question.
Basically you just have to target trees and stuff like that, and so you can't just use it for any old mountain and rock climb that way. You still have to like be wary of your environment and stuff. So it would feel less game breaking than if you could just hook onto any rock and pull yourself on. That's just my train of thought. What's your question, Jesse?
So you mentioned it hooking into wooden stuff as opposed to just like grabbing onto targets and stuff. Yes, arg. With Breath of the Wild, there are a lot of wooden crates and barrels all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So
and trees.
Yes, I imagine if you hook shot a crate, you will get pulled towards it. But barrels, like in Skyward Sword and other games, way enough for Link to actually pick up. Like, that's one of the beginning tutorials in Skyward Sword. So in Breath of the Wild, if you hooked onto a barrel, would you be pulled towards it, or would it be pulled towards you? Now, the answer to this
towards you, yeah,
can be interesting, depending on what's inside the barrel.
Oh.
So, like, if the barrel is empty, it'll be pulled towards you, and then you'll catch it and you can throw it as an attack or something. But if there's rubies or food and other stuff in it, weapons, then you'll be pulled towards it. So it would be a clever way to be like, is this barrel important, or can I just destroy it?
Clearly, I didn't check out barrels because I didn't know that there are things in them occasionally.
More lightning.
Yeah, there are. You
guys were like talking about like, well, it depends on what's in the barrel, and I was like,
what's in
the barrel's always empty.
No, you can. Usually, it's either apples or arrows.
Yeah.
So there's not really much, but I mean, still, like, arrows are good to get. And apples are a dime a dozen.
Apples are great.
But yeah, like, that's a good. It's just so spooky loud. I know that there's like some really good puzzles in like Stone Tower Temple in Majora's Mask, for example, that use really good use of the hook shot, only being able to grip into wooden things. So there's like a treasure chest on the ceiling. You don't look at it and think that's a hookshot target. It's a treasure chest, and you need to flip the dungeon upside down. But then, before you can flip that upside down, you need to get to an area, and then you realize, okay, well, I can actually hookshot into that. And if they worked it right, it could be really good without being game breaking. But I understand why they cut it out. So, sorry,
I think
blinding.
That was. Whenever they announced the Champions Ballad on the podcast you and I discussed, we hoped that was one of the abilities or weapons that they would include in. But they didn't really give any new items in the Champions Ballad.
Oh, just upgraded abilities, and that's...
Yeah, and like, the weird thing is, like, with the motorcycle, the Master Cycle Zero, whatever it's called, it doesn't really make too much sense for me. Like, in a way, it's like if they have these giant mechanical divine beasts, obviously they're going to have something like a motorcycle, like a smaller thing that someone could ride around instead of just a massive thing. So it kind of does make sense, but traditional Zelda games, you think motorcycle, it's not going to make too much sense, but it is fun. So my question, and you don't get it until the very end of the game. So my question is, they already had the beetle programmed into the game. They already had the hook shot, claw shot, whatever it was going to be, designed for the game. So it's not like they would have had to take more time out to develop this. It was stuff they already had, they made for the game, decided it didn't work, took it out. With the DLC, why didn't they just be like, hey, you beat the game, here's a motorcycle, also here's the hook shot or whatever, go have fun.
Yeah, I would be really game for that. That would be awesome.
All right. So, yeah. Final thoughts, Daniel. Yes, no, hook shot, claw shot, do you want it?
Hook shot, claw shot, it's all good. It's always good.
All right. Daniel hates the idea, Kayla. So what do you think? Hook shot, claw shot, should it be in Breath of the Wild?
Like you guys said, I feel like it would be really game breaking. Like, if they could find a way to include it, then yes.
All right. Even if it was like given to you similar to the motorcycle?
No.
No? What? What do you mean
yes.
no?
Not game breaking? Okay, just no.
What? Because I do agree, if it was given to you at the very beginning, then Gibbs in the chat says Kayla say yes. Yeah, similar to the way, like, if they do give it to you at the beginning or early on in the game, I would see it being kind of game breaking, because there are puzzles you have to figure out where if there's like thorns or something blocking you from getting to a dungeon, and then you can just hookshot past it, then it kind of...
no, it's definitely like a later game thing that you would get.
Yeah, so that would kind of like be a cheap way to get past it.
I mean, there is one shrine like that, though, where there is, like, thorns around it, and I think you're supposed to burn them and stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's
I would
how
just get around it by, like, I would just climb up a ledge and then just paraglide down anyway. So, like, there's still kind of a workaround anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
There's always a way.
We've had a lot of really great people in the chat. This is probably the biggest chat that we've had. Maybe I should label that it is the podcast. and
Maybe.
not just
people will stop watching.
yeah, because like with the Nintendo newscast, we usually get like half as many people watching, but since I said it was the Hylian's Gamescast, maybe all the people
Everyone knows.
yeah, like now people are interested, so they're like, oh, hey, I watched this, I'll watch it live. Yeah. So what?
There's one thing about the motorcycle you reminded me of. I can't remember where it was, but I saw someone comment on I think it was a comment on a video somewhere, where they said that an issue they had with the motorcycle being included in Champion's Ballad was that because the motorcycle was in it, that meant Mario Kart 8 was now canon. And I was like,
someone commented on a video that I had where they said, now this isn't an exact quote, I don't really remember. I posted it in the Discord because I was trying to get other people's opinions on it as well. But it said something like, now that Breath of the Wild's DLC has confirmed Mario Kart to be canon, and then they went on about something else.
It hasn't.
I
think that was where I saw it, because that's usually where I go to scope out the comments for the podcast and everything. But I was just like, how? Like the Hylian shield is in Smash Bros. Does that mean Smash is canon?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like it makes no sense.
All right. So now the motorcycle, the Master Cycle Zero in Breath of the Wild, before it was introduced in the Champion's Ballad trailer that released, I think, at the Game Awards, it was first teased during concept art that was shown off for Breath of the Wild. It had Link in like a weird hipster-looking outfit, and then beside him was a different motorcycle, but it was just concept art. No one really thought it was something that was intended for the game. I think most people just assumed it was like they're sitting around drawing, coming up with crazy ideas, and then working out what actually makes sense for the game. At the time, no one really thought a motorcycle made sense, so they just thought, oh, this is concept art, nothing else. But then it gets released as actual DLC. Something else that was just concept art was Link in a weird submarine scuba diving outfit. So
does that mean they were like planning to be underwater section?
Yeah.
You know? That was really the biggest thing missed. Like, okay, other than dungeons as they used to be, that was a big chunk of what was missing in Breath of the Wild, was like anything underwater.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that I think about it, there was really nothing like underwater.
Yeah, like you could swim around and grab fish, and you could use magnesis to pick up stuff. I'm looking for the image.
Who swims and grabs fish? You have to throw the bomb at them to fish. Come on.
No, I'd just dive in there and just get them.
Or, well, I would just throw my bombs at them and go pick them all up when they're dead.
Or what's fun is if you do Cryonis at just the right moment, you can just like pick it up with it. Yeah. There's something weirdly satisfying about that, and it's just flopping around on the top.
All right, so you can see a picture of this if you go to the chat. I posted a link, but that's going a bit too fast.
To a picture of Link.
I'm posting it in the Skype discussion
Link
as well.
pics.
So this is number 9 or number 2 on our list, depending on which way you want to go with it. But it has Link in a weird...
It's a Metroid!
Yeah, scuba diving outfit. He still has his sword and shield. There's the Metroid beside him. And it's just like a really baggy scuba diving outfit. And this was something that they released alongside the first concept art they released for the motorcycle, which did end up making its way into the game. So that leads to this also probably being in the game as well. But then they thought, well, there's already so much to do. Let's take away the underwater exploration. Or maybe they thought, let's have a more interesting way to explore underwater. Like typically it's the Zora armor that lets you go underneath the water and explore around. And I believe they also mentioned that there was the iron boots at one point in this game as well that would have sunk you down like it traditionally does, but for whatever reason there are no real underwater exploration areas in this game. But we do have concept art of if it would have not been the Zora armor and boots that let you sink down, then it would have been this weird, clunky, really baggy, Metroid friendly.
Metroid friendly.
Can't get at you in there.
Also, is it a Metroid or is it the weird jellyfish-looking Metroid-esque things found in Jabu Jabu's belly in Ocarina of Time.
What are those called again? They're just pretty much just jellyfish, though, aren't they? Did they
It's
really
definitely a Metroid.
That's 100% a Metroid, though.
All right.
That's the thing. It's design, it's
Well, like
color,
Link.
it's
Okay, so
little
Link's Awakening.
nucleus things.
Link's Awakening has its chain chomp, but it's not called a chain chomp.
What, Bow Wow, isn't it?
Oh, the
Yeah.
Bow Wow.
Bow Wow.
Yeah. So, like, maybe this could have been called, like, this was an enemy designed for the underwater segments. That is
Are
a
you
Metroid.
sure? What if it was just a doodle? What if they were like really bored and they're like, you know what, this could really use a Metroid?
Maybe they're just like, I need something gross, squid-looking, like, quick. What's something we've
Gotta
got?
be drilling.
No, like
underwater.
what I was
That
thinking.
doesn't
How
make
is it drooling
sense.
underwater?
What I'm thinking is they, in the same way that they reused enemies like the chain chomp to the Bow Wow, they use this as a way to, like, you know, the same way that Mario and Luigi became Ingle and Talon. Was that their name?
Yeah, Ingo and
Lon,
Talon.
yeah, from Lon Lon
Yeah.
Ranch. So,
And Metroids were in Kid Icarus as well. Straight up.
all right.
They were just there, so
I don't remember that, but
yeah.
I didn't
the
play a
first
lot. I
one-
didn't play a lot of Kid Icarus. So.
The like NES Kid Icarus. There's just straight up there's Metroids in it.
Yeah, and everyone in the chat,
So-
if you want to look at this, I posted the link. You can go scroll up and try to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I
you'll
think
talk
there are
too
also
much.
Metroids in a Kirby game. There's one Kirby game that has Metroids in it, I think.
yeah. So like this could have been a doodle of just the Metroid, or it could be like, hey, that's a cool enemy design. Let's put it in the game, and then they just ended up scrapping it altogether.
Could be placeholder as well.
Yeah.
While they were like needed a different squid enemy. Because there are in the Lakebed Temple in Twilight Princess, there are kind of like jellyfish ones that you do need to like pull their nucleus out with the claw shots.
But
Yeah,
They're
Daniel,
kind of Metroid-like.
that's not Metroid because
Metroid's
Metroid.
a girl.
Metroid's the girl in the suit.
Yeah.
All right. Final
Kayla's
thoughts.
quit.
Final thoughts on Link's underwater scuba diving adventure suit.
I don't know if I like this design.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
hold it,
definitely
hold
like
it up,
the
Daniel,
design.
so
like-
people can see.
Oh,
Yeah, Daniel,
was
show
looking
us
at
your
my phone.
phone.
that's it.
Wow.
You know those divers guys in Wind Waker? The deep sea diver guys? They're actually like they just got like the giant.
Sploosh.
No, not sploosh. Not that guy, but there are these deep sea diver guys. You kind of find them out at sea, and they've got pretty much just like a speedo and then the big
Oh, my
deep
favorite.
sea helmets. I would like to see a helmet like that if they were gonna work it in. I don't know. Or the Varuta Divine Beast helmet.
Mm-hmm.
To give you like underwater breathing instead of swim speed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I'm doing a brain.
Call Me Zelda One More Time says that it's definitely Link as an astronaut. Do you know what? I see that.
And
I
Actually-
see that.
an oceanic astronaut. No, it could be astronaut.
You know what? Yeah, I see it. It could.
And then Metroids are space. But I think when it was introduced, like during the presentation, they introduced it as underwater thing. But
I'm just
that
skimming the
is-
article to see if
That is a good segue into our next canceled part, because there is a cutscene that Nintendo showed off where they experimented with the aliens returning and taking over. Yes.
Oh yes, the flying sauce. I think it's the thumbnail of this.
Yeah, it is actually what we're using as the thumbnail.
Of this live stream. Yeah.
So the segue comes from if they would have had aliens coming and attacking Link, shooting off their missiles and rockets, exploding everything, it would kind of make sense for Link to have his own way to explore space. So maybe that's his space astronaut suit.
Astronaut.
Yeah,
Space or not.
yeah, it's a new word. Miyamoto gave it to me directly. Yes. Yeah, we're buddies. Miyamoto. He likes talking about squids tacos and spacetronauts. Yeah.
Oddly specific.
Yeah. Well, he's a very specific man.
Can you trust a guy who invented bloopers in Super Mario Bros? I mean,
What?
the blooper enemies, the squids in Super Mario Bros. The man, he invented that. Can you really trust him?
Why wouldn't we trust him?
Because he invented the bloopers.
The bloopers are awesome.
Excuse me? They're the worst Mario enemy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. So
Daniel decides to kill me.
for the people commenting currently saying, but guys, Zelda would never have
What?
aliens. That's too far out there. I point towards Majora's Mask,
Yes.
where
Aliens are out there, guys.
they came to abduct the cows from Termani Ranch.
Romani
Romani
Ranch.
Ranch.
In Termina.
In Termina. Yes, I totally did not get that wrong.
Isn't that your favorite Zelda game?
No.
Termini Ranch.
Termini Ranch.
Termani
Salad
Ranch.
dressing.
Romani Ranch.
Romani Ranch. But the Romani, Chateau
Chateau Romani.
Chateau Romani milk.
Like some good milk.
Yeah.
That's way better than Lon Lon milk.
It's
like wow.
Yeah.
Lon Lon milk gives you what, like 6 hearts?
Romani gives you
Romani,
full.
Chateau Romani.
I would always
full
use it.
Unlimited magic power.
I would always use it with the Fierce Deity mask to have
Oh.
unlimited sword beams.
Yeah.
Just kill everything. Everything.
Almost as good as Grandma's soup. Best Zelda of all time, Grandma's soup.
What about the Yeti soup?
Not as good as Grandma's soup.
It's racist.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe I love
Wasn't-
Grandma.
Wasn't there a theory that the Sheikah were aliens though for a while?
Is that a real theory?
Yeah, you guys haven't heard of that one?
No.
Wow. Well, pocket that one for another really bad theory episode.
That for the next,
All right. So before we move on to number 4, guys, should the aliens have been in Breath of the Wild?
You know what? I like them in the way they're portrayed in Majora's Mask. They're a very mysterious kind of side piece, you know?
There are no cows in there are no cows in Breath of the Wild, correct?
Oh god.
No, there are cows, aren't they?
There's bulls for sure. You see some bulls in the
Yeah,
wild.
but are there cows?
Don't think there are any
Did
cows.
they just abduct the bear?
So
And the milk, there's like goat's butter.
what
I think
would
there's goat milk.
so the aliens would come? They're launching all those missiles at Link because they came, and there were no cows to abduct. So no cows, no
So
aliens.
they're angry.
That's why they're not in the game. That's
They were
Nintendo's explanation. I have it right here from Miyamoto. There are no aliens. The concept was removed from Breath of the Wild because there were no cows. Now you may be asking, why didn't they just add cows so they could have the aliens? And
Too much work. Too much programming.
yeah, they spent who knows how many weeks developing that cutscene to not have it in the game.
But then they'd have to add at least 6 cows, and that's
At least 6.
that's too much
Yeah,
programming.
they could have just removed the horns from the bulls, but nope.
No.
Nope.
All right, number 4. We'll go through the list. I kind of jumbled some of it, but I wanted to talk about the hookshot first. So
Yeah, I
we'll
don't
go
know
in
where
order.
you're going right now.
We'll go from order. We'll go in order for the list from here on. So number
Right.
4 would be number 2. Number 5 would be number 3. The Return of the Minish. This was also concept art, and I could not find the interview, but it does exist. There's also
I've seen it.
concept art of Link kneeling down, talking to some of the Minish, and there's like their little teeny tiny houses. It was cute. They should be there. I think there is a Minish forest or something like that in Breath of the Wild.
I think it's called Minchi, but it's like
Minchi.
a reference.
Yeah.
They like changed one letter.
Yeah, like Tingle Island is like
Yeah.
Tingle Island.
Yeah.
So
The Minish, I don't think it was. I think they just thought it was like a similar concept, but
yeah, maybe it was.
or they said they were doing the Minish, but they had a placeholder, and there was that actual the model that they had in place for that was a tiny character was actually a model from Skyward Sword that they had put in of one of the kids on Skyloft.
Oh.
I remember thinking that was kind of a weird touch.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that Skyloft kid tiny?
Maybe
Link's kneeling beside him.
Maybe they didn't go with the Minish in this game because Capcom told them no.
Maybe. Or maybe they didn't even want to ask Capcom.
Yeah. Because in the similar to Super Mario RPG, which was in collaboration with Square Enix. Square Enix developed the game, which is why Super Mario RPG 2 became Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64, because Nintendo did not own the rights to a lot of the characters that was in.
Here.
Yes.
On the image. That little kid is on... he's the kid
He's
from
the
Skyloft.
one with the... You have to roll into the tree.
Yeah. Weird,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I was actually just looking at that.
Yeah.
Really bad quality of just holding my phone up to the camera, but you get the idea.
But yeah, my thought is maybe, like, I don't know why Capcom would say no, but as Daniel said, maybe they just didn't want to ask. But it's the same way that Paper Mario was named Paper Mario instead of Super Mario RPG 2, which it was first announced as. And then a lot of the characters in the game they couldn't use because Square Enix owned the rights and not Nintendo, where they were shared, which meant they both had to be in agreement. So it's the same thing with Capcom and Nintendo, which is also why you never see people like Vatty reappearing. You never really see the Four Sword being mentioned or appearing, even though it looks almost identical to the Master Sword. The Picori Blade or whatever.
Yeah, the Picori Blade, which becomes the Four Swords, looks almost the exact same as the Master Sword. But I think once it's the Four Sword, it's different looking.
So
it's like golden.
Yeah, and that's why, because Capcom also made Four Swords, that could be another reason why Triforce Heroes was Triforce Heroes and not Four Swords, because maybe they didn't want to get into that discussion with Capcom over 4 links instead of just the 3. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know what's going on there. But at one point, the Minish, like, they went as far as developing a little town, a little Minish town, putting the characters in and having Link crouch down. So who knows what could have happened. Would you guys have liked to see this? And another part of this, where would you have liked to see the Minish town located?
Somewhere in the, like, well, I want to say, like, my first instinct is like somewhere Faron Woods, like a tiny little town. I think the houses would be smaller even than what that concept art is. And, you know, just like tucked away somewhere. But that area is actually pretty densely populated. Like, there's already, like, if you want to go in that quarter of the map, just that quarter of the map, there's like Kakariko Village, there's Hateno Village, there's Laurelin Village. There's just already a lot of settlements going on, and there's a lot more like spread out. So maybe if you pull it, I don't know, but I don't know where else to put it, because geographically, that's where my brain wants to go to, because Minish Cap, that's kind of where their village was, in that kind of area. So,
but at the same time, like, it feels like something that you would like accidentally stumble upon while you're playing.
Yeah, like instead of having one main central area, if there was just like spread throughout the village, or like throughout Hyrule,
or even just to see them like in some treetops or something, you know, just like little tiny huts on some tree branches or something like that, you know, would be really cool.
Yeah, that could be cool. I mean, there are lots of trees, and as far as I'm concerned, their only purpose is just cutting them down and stealing apples.
I would like to see.
You mean bombing them down?
I would like to see the old man having some sort of conflict with the Minish. So, like, if there was a tribe of the Minish living on the island, and the old man's like complaining that every now and then, like, apples or ingredients for food would start to go missing, and then later on you would find like an apple moving on the ground, and it would just be like a Minish carrying it off. I
like that.
Like, I think it would have been something hilarious, because like the old man is, you know, he's a ghost. Spoiler for the people that didn't
How
make it.
dare you?
Yeah,
What if someone didn't make it through the first hour
Yeah,
of that game released a year ago?
For the people that never played the game for more than an hour, the old man is a ghost. So, like, you have this spirit ghost person who is like the spirit of the king of Hyrule, and then he's complaining about these darn Minish that just keep stealing his stuff. So,
And I think like the other races, you know, they're pretty much mandatory to the story to go visit the different races. But I would like to see that this as a very much like an optional thing, you know, like very like Kayla said, like just kind of you stumble upon them as more of a side piece. And it's not really related to the story, but they're there, you know.
Yeah, and like they could have their own side quests because we know like everyone always has their own little side quests. Like Zelda is so packed full of them. And I think it would be just kind of a really cool thing, especially for like longtime Zelda fans and people that have played most of the games. Like that would just be like, oh my gosh, the Minish.
yeah. Knock Fox in the chat says he says spoiler after he says the spoiler. Yes. All right. So moving on to our next one. Would you like to tell us what our next one is, Daniel? And then we'll go to you, Kayla.
Okay, so actually these next two are kind of connected, but we'll just go ahead with number.
Yeah, number.
I want to say number three, but it's number 5.
Yeah, number 5 would lead into number 6. So,
Yeah.
start.
So it's the return of the Kokiri. So we got the Koroks in Breath of the Wild. Obviously, we got a lot of them, and originally they were toying with having the Kokiri instead, but I guess they decided that it doesn't really make as much sense to have the Kokiri rather than the Koroks, because where are they going to live? What are they going to do? Like, what purpose will they serve? Overall, I actually like the Koroks better, so I'm not too upset. People don't hate me.
Yeah.
They're like visually a more like distinct and different race, so I like the Korok. I don't know. I really like the idea of the Koroks, like these forest spirits that are kind of funky looking that could take on the shape of the Kokiri. In a way, actually, because the Koroks were the Kokiri, we still did get them, right? So yes,
In
but
the
I know
same way,
Jesse really
the Zora and the Rito.
not in the same way though, because somehow we got both.
Oh yeah.
I still haven't wrapped my brain around that one, but I know
Wind
Jesse, you were
Waker
saying
has the Sage, Kokiri, along with the Koroks.
Yes.
So
That's true. The one, he's also a ghost.
you're a ghost.
Spoilers. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm levitating right now. I'm not standing up.
True story.
Floating here. You don't believe me that I'm just floating here? Here's my feet.
Wow, nice
Ooh, nice.
socks.
Floating.
Super
Thank you.
nice
This is
socks.
Actually, some
Careful,
of my
you're
favorite
blinding
socks
everyone
here.
watching.
Now, the Kokiri not being in the game also comes at another price, which leads into our next one, which is there was also supposed to be a Kokiri champion.
Yes.
Now, this makes me wonder, would there have been a 5th champion? Like, would he have been included with the Rito, the Zora, the Goron, the Gerudo? So he would have been the 5th. Or would he have replaced one of the other?
Oh, I think at the time that they had the design, I think it was him instead of the Rito.
Yeah, because
I think
Rivali, Mr. Ravioli, is not.
Ravioli.
Yes.
We got him instead. No, I actually prefer that we got the Rito and then the Koroks separately because, again, it's like it's a visually distinct race that we see as opposed to another humanoid race. Because, and also the Rito are cool. It's cool to see them back. Like I mentioned before, I've been replaying Wind Waker after it's been a few years since I have.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I played through Wind Waker was when Wind Waker HD just came out. So,
Oh wow.
it's kind of nice to sort of like go back and then like being with like seeing the Rito and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are cool, but very different in Breath of the Wild than how they are in Wind Waker. So I appreciate the design choice.
People in the chat say, do not dishonor Rivali's
I know,
name.
I'm like, a plumber to the past. Don't worry, I love Ravioli. I think he's great.
Rabbit.
How dare you, Daniel?
Daruk's still the best champion. That's all I have to say about that.
No, Mifa, champion, best champion.
Sidon is the best non-champion.
Yeah. So that would have been interesting, whether it would have been a 5th champion or just replaced one of the others. Yeah. So, Kayla, who do you think it would have replaced if it did replace?
I don't think it would have replaced anyone, just because I feel like everyone is kind of like a strong kind of composition. They would have added like an extra person, but at the same time, this is gonna sound really dumb, but I feel like the map is not big enough for 5.
I think the map is big enough for 5.
I don't like, where would they put it?
Well, it would have replaced Korok Forest. It would have been Kokiri Forest.
Oh, duh.
I think that's the most logical.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah. Or do you mean 5 divine beasts? Like, where would they put 5 divine beasts? I think like straight north.
Straight north. Yeah.
Straight, like right at the very north. Or there's the if they move the Zora champ, like the Varuta, that divine beast, down into like Hateno Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's the big one between Eventide Island and the coast. There's like this huge bay. I don't know. I don't remember if that's Hateno Bay or a different one.
Yeah. So
they move that there. Then there's room for the 5th divine beast to squeeze in there.
They messed up because they have the Gerudo divine beast moving around. They have the Rito divine beast moving around. They have the Goron divine beast moving around, but then the Zora divine beast is just stationary. They should have
circles.
they should have made it like the others to where it's moving around, but it's moving around the coast. So like in the same way, when you get close to the Gerudo divine beast, you're possibly being struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have made it to where like it's
Tsunami!
constantly like it's constantly a super heavy downpour of rain wherever Valruto's going. But he's like moving along the coast. So in the same way, when you're in the game, like you're up high on the Great Plateau, you can see the salamander lizard thing crawling around Death Mountain. You can see I don't think you can see the Gerudo divine beast moving around. Because he's kind of blocked. But once you get closer, you can see him moving around. So you can see these like from off in the distance moving around. So it would have been cool if you seen like when you're looking out towards the coast, certain times you can see like this huge thing just like swimming from coast to coast. And that would have made it a bit more interesting. And then in the same way that the salamander thing, I forgot its name, but the Goron divine beast is moving around the mountain, but as you get closer...
Rudania.
Yeah. So as you're getting closer to it, it becomes stationary inside the mouth of the volcano. So they could have done something to where, as you fought Valruta, he, like, disappeared underneath the water and then reappeared in Zora's domain. So something like that could have happened. That would have made it a bit more interesting.
Like just swims up the river or something. Yeah. Or they can even have the cutscene of him, of it walking too, because the place where it settles in is kind of far removed from where you actually find him in the Reservoir Lake. Like it goes up the mountain anyways.
Yeah, right?
Same with
just like
same with
the
same with the camel one with the purple feet.
Yeah. Hard names to remember.
Naboris.
Yeah, Valnaboris.
Too many names.
That one again. It moves pretty far.
Yeah. So I think that goes along with what you were saying, to where if they moved Varuta, instead of just moving it to another stationary place, if he just wandered around, or it wandered around the ocean, then you would have that area cleared up to put the Kokiri, or the 5th divine beast. So yeah, just my thoughts. Are we ready to move on to the next?
Yes.
All right, so we are back with number 7, because we went 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're at 7, which is actually number 7. So Kayla, would you like to take this one?
Oh gosh, do you want me to read all of that?
Or
I'm just kidding.
summarize it.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, you can say what it is, and then I'll like read
Yeah.
through the important parts quickly.
So a Link to the Past style fake sword pedestals were replaced by Koroks, which I think would be super awesome.
Yes. So
You want the fake pedestals?
yeah. So what this is in A Link to the Past, when you're in the Lost Woods, there were the fake Master Sword pedestals, and then eventually you find the real one. I don't know if they included that in A Link Between Worlds, but I know it was in the original.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's in A Link Between Worlds at all, but
yeah, but it was in A Link to the Past. The interview says, and I'll try to read this as quickly as possible. Koroks are hiding all over Hyrule in this game, and the Korok mask is a new item deeply related to these hidden creatures. Okay, so I want to start off by saying this information
yes.
comes from Alnuma when they first revealed the Korok mask as DLC. So it was on their official Zelda.com website. It continues.
But also, you put it in our Google Doc in alt caps, so you have to
Yeah.
yell it while you're
Yeah,
No,
you're
no.
yelling right
Like,
now.
It was,
There are
it was,
many suspicious locations.
I just copied and pasted it, so
This is
it
just
was
a
already
really
in
big
caps.
thing. Okay.
Yes. I had to give the importance of the Korok mask. Like, poor Gibbs, found 1,800 Koroks.
Yeah, the dude's nuts. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Did you find 1,800 Koroks, Kayla? Did you, Daniel? All right.
I'm gonna say I got to like maybe 600.
I got like 300.
Yeah, I got about 600 in my first. I'm still working on my second playthrough, but yeah, I stopped around 600 because it was just like too much.
Yeah, like it
Way
got to a
too
point to where like I would need to be doing a side quest and I would see a Korok puzzle, but I would just ignore it. So, like I probably came across half of them, but I only have like 300.
You don't need that that.
It's
many.
that golden
You probably
piece
need
of
less
poop.
than half of them to actually, like, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I can fully upgrade my inventory, that's good enough. That's done. Completionist
Ooh,
check.
apparently Gibbs got all of them.
Yeah, that's who we
crazy.
were talking
Yeah.
about. Gibbs got
Oh,
1,800.
sorry, I was looking in the chat and I was impatient.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah, you got them all.
the
That's crazy.
The information continues in all caps. There are many suspicious locations in the vast world of Hyrule, so during development we started saying things like, it would be fun to discover something if it were placed at a location like this, don't you think? Initially we placed some random rocks in spots like these, just as an experiment. I don't have the images up, so forgive me. But as development continued, also you can't go and find this anymore. The images they put up, unless someone saved them or something, because it was on, when you went to Zelda.com, they gave information on all of the DLC, but now it's updated to like sell you more stuff from Breath of the Wild. So these interviews, you have to go to like different websites and stuff, like Zelda Dungeon, Go Nintendo, to get them. But it continues. But as development continued, we concluded that simply placing rocks somewhere isn't intriguing or challenging enough to be rewarding. Even if you were to find them instead, we suggested hiding some small creatures there for the finding. So that's how these Koroks, who would normally only live in Korok Forest, ended up scattered across remote areas of Hyrule. Now, let's go back to the Korok mask. It isn't something that exists simply to give you the taste of Korok life when you were in the walk. If you walk by hidden Korok while wearing it, it will actually shake to clue you in about it, the mask will. So apparently I copied everything except the part where it mentions the stuff about the but I guess when it's like there was another section where it mentioned it, and the picture that it was talking about was a picture where it was the pedestal. I'll get it, send it to Daniel, and then Daniel can share it on his phone.
Okay, I kept the pedestal. I've got it right there.
Yeah.
Behind me. I have a little.
Sorry, can you zoom that in for us?
Yeah.
No, but I'll go get it if you want.
No, I was kidding.
Pedestal.
I can
It's a-
kind of see it.
I've got a little master sword there.
Oh.
I got that for Christmas. I was like, this is the best letter opener that I will never use, but I will forever keep.
Who even uses letter openers?
Who even uses letters?
All right. So Daniel,
Yes.
in the Skype chat, I just sent you the image, and then you can scroll down a couple of times, and it shows Link standing beside one of these pedestals. And they replaced all of these pedestals with these, whenever it says, initially we placed some random rocks in spots like this, the image that it shows is Link standing next to one of the pedestal rocks. And I think in a different interview he was talking about you would put the sword into it and it would disappear. Similar to when you find a Korok, it gets added to your list. This way, you put the Master Sword in it, the pedestal disappears, and it somehow adds up, similar to the way that the Koroks do. So
I feel like this is a very dangerous thing, because when I first started picking up rocks and finding Koroks, I would always like tap the button too fast, and I would pick up the rock and drop it on the Korok. So I'd probably stab a Korok, not gonna lie.
That's my favorite part, though, is if you just drop it on them. Jesse, you sent it to me on Skype.
Yes.
Which is open on the computer.
Okay, it is also in the chat for the YouTube chat.
Oh yeah, there you go. The peeps can see it now. It's funny because that's the pedestal from Skyward Sword, not the.
So you are able to look at it. So
yeah, but it's not the pedestal from Breath of the Wild, which is interesting.
I'll bring this over. So this is covering up way too much of the screen. People watching the edited video are probably complaining right now. But if you look where Daniel's face should be, you can see Link standing next to the pedestal. So,
yeah, I find that they must have ripped that model straight out of Skyward Sword.
Yeah. And I imagine this is also tied in with whenever they replaced the pedestals with the Koroks, that also probably came along with replacing the Kokiri with the Koroks. So these two changes were probably hand in hand.
That shield, that's the design for the soldier's shield, but it's the colors of the traveler's shield.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. I'm the next Beta 64, guys. Subscribe to my channel.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, Beta 64 is a really great YouTube channel. You should go watch it. But anyways. No, really, it is. It's a really good channel.
Daniel, you're killing me over here.
No, it really is a good channel.
All right.
While you're at it, put a link in the doobly-doo below.
So
he talks all about cut content and stuff, so I'm all over that.
Similar to the inspiration for the stuff that we do on our channel, like YuriofWind's Gaming Mysteries, where he talks about beta stuff. And then there's like Beta 64, I don't know, there's like a bunch of really cool stuff that you can check out from Canceled Stuff.
Yeah. Or Unseen 64 is a good website for that stuff.
So Kayla, would you like to take number 8, which is 2 paragraphs instead of the 4 massive paragraphs?
Wow,
not in all caps,
the laziest person.
Yes.
You can say it normally because it's not in all caps.
Are you sure? Maybe I should yell it.
You should yell it.
Actually, this kind of goes with what we did earlier with the hook shot. This kind of like goes along with it.
Sure, I guess we did kind of mention this part already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right.
We can cover it really fast and move on to the next one.
Yeah? Okay. So, obtaining items and weapons in dungeons. So, during their original experiments, they were playing around with allowing Breath of the Wild players to obtain objects inside of the dungeons, like you could in previous games. Which, I think, like, we did touch base on that. Like, that would be a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But definitely we would have to think of, like, other items to use. Because I found... I don't know.
I would have liked it if... like similar to the champion weapons that you get, so like you get the specific bow and arrow and stuff. If you were in the dungeon, I think
instead of them just giving it to you, if you found it in the dungeon, I think it's so much better
because it was sorry, what were you going to say, Daniel?
There's one thing that I would really have liked for those champion weapons as well, and that would be for them to be, maybe the only indestructible items in the game being the Master Sword, Hylian Shield, and the champion weapons.
Yeah, and they could break.
Which would make the most sense, because like once they break, I'm not going to go back and go get it.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
How much time do you think I got?
So I never even used them because I don't want to break them, so I just put them in my house in Hateno Village.
So here's...
put them on the wall.
Here's the thought that I have. They could break, but do it in a way similar to the Master Sword. to where you just can't use them. And it would make sense if you could have found them inside the Divine Beasts, because those would have potentially been the exact weapon that the champions were using when they died. And that's why they're left inside the Divine Beasts and why you find them there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
yeah,
sense.
because it doesn't make any sense to come out and just like grab them and like, hey, like here's this
someone
thing.
go in there and just get them and then leave?
Like, congratulations, we've already looted this place for you.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to number 9. Daniel, would you like to take this?
Yes. Okay.
Number 10 is a big one, guys. Get excited. Get hyped.
I'm hyped for number 10.
As Giovanni says, get hyped.
Number 9, touch controls and map. So, having to bring Breath of the Wild to Switch wasn't a huge surprise. We knew about the hardware. We thought it was probably going to come on, and here it is. But it was a big undertaking, and it meant that Nintendo had to scrap all the ideas they had for the Wii U's gamepad controller, like separate map and different control scheme. When it was originally just for the Wii U, we had touch controls, said Fujibayashi.
Yes.
But we had to remove them. Although it was not very flashy or exciting work, it was still time-consuming and difficult. In Breath of the Wild, one of Link's main tools is the Sheikah Slate, a device that resembles the Wii U gamepad and allows Link to interact with the world. Originally, the Sheikah Slate was going to be far more connected to the Wii U gamepad, to the point where Fujibayashi and the other developers had to overhaul parts of the story when they decided to bring Breath of the Wild to the Switch as well. We felt that the way the Sheikah Slate is represented in the game and how we use the gamepad in real life synced really well, said Fujibayashi. Nailed it. So when we had to remove it, I did feel like, oh, it's too bad we had to do that. And because it was so tied into the scenario, we did have to go back and redesign and rethink the scenario, which was a little bit of work. Fishing. Anyway, so yeah, I
I messed it up there. Sorry.
You did.
Ooh.
So I get it. Like you can kind of see that they were testing out these ideas with Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, like how the gamepad would interact with the game, using that for your item management.
It was one of the first things they showed off with the Zelda Wii U Tech demo as well.
Yeah. I actually like how they handled switching items, like switching swords and shields in Breath of the Wild, where you just hold the button and you scroll through it. I like that better than using the touchscreen, to be honest. Like on 3DS, I really like dual screen experience, but on the Wii U, I actually just generally preferred to have the one screen, even though the gamepad is there.
Did you use the Pro Controller or the gamepad?
I often would still use the gamepad for Zelda because of the gyroscopic aiming. I really like gyroscopic aiming.
I like the map being on the touchpad.
I just would rather pause. I don't know what it is. Like, it's maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I find having to actually like physically take my eyes off the screen and look down, it pulls me out of the experience. Like, it pulls me out of the game.
That was the excuse Nintendo gave.
Yeah.
At E3.
Well, they read my mind.
Whenever when you went to E3, when they first had Zelda Wii U playable on the Wii U, on the gamepad, it just had a black screen with text on it saying to like look at the TV or whatever. And what Nintendo told all of the representatives to tell the people on why there wasn't a map or anything on the Wii U, like we seen when Aonuma and Miyamoto showed off the little demo of Breath of the Wild, was that they wanted you to be focused solely on the gameplay, and having to look down at the gamepad took you out of the experience. So that's what Nintendo told everyone to tell customers. And
that's valid. Like, I find that, like, with 3DS, they're like right beside each other. It's still all in my hand, so it's not an immersion breaker for me. But with the Wii U, like, it's too much of a disconnect for me, and then I'm not going to be playing it with it held up either to mitigate that, like, because that's just uncomfortable. But there are some good things about touch controls still. Like, I still think that the Wii U gamepad was used really well in Pikmin 3 is probably the best example. I love my Pikmin because like basically the characters, much like the Sheikah Slate, they had an item in the game that was like a tablet, and it was pretty much the Wii U gamepad. Like, it even pretty much looked exactly like it. And that was some of the best use of it because you could pause and still use it, or you could use it while you're not. In Pikmin, it makes sense because you can just give a command and then just like while they're doing stuff, you can then manage your stuff with the gamepad. But I think that was the best use of the Wii U gamepad in like all of the Wii U's life, other than off TV play. When your kid wants to watch Netflix and you're like, okay, but I want to play Zelda. So yeah, I don't really miss it though. Like playing Breath of the Wild on the Switch, I wasn't like, but I'm not gonna get those gamepad features. I still got my gyroscopic aiming, and switching items that way, like switching between your swords, is very intuitive, I find. So it's like pausing without having to really pause. So it's good. All right, I rambled too much. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I feel like the other way to look at the map thing though is like if you're playing the game and then you look at the gamepad and it has the map on it, it's almost like you're like literally pulling out a map to figure out where you are. But I'm still on the same kind of path as you, Daniel. Like I'd rather just play the game, not have to worry about messing around with it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I find that like the map, I wouldn't use it like in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD. I wouldn't really use it. Like the gamepad for it, I would just pause. I don't know, just pause and bring it up.
I can't, even though the Switch has the touchscreen, I can't think of any reason why you would need to have touchscreen features on the Switch unless it's like putting a mark on the map
keyboards
or something.
Yeah, but how they have it set up, like using the beacons, it works well enough. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's reversed of how the beacons worked in Skyward Sword. Though, in Skyward Sword, you would open the map and put the beacon on the map, and then you would see it. Where in Breath of the Wild, you would have to put the beacon while looking directly at it, and then you would see it on the map. And so it's the reverse, but I think it works better that way.
Yeah. All right, I guess. Would you guys have loved the touchscreen and second screen features, or like simple yes or no?
No.
No.
I don't. Right. Sure, but I don't miss it. I don't know.
Yeah.
The bad thing is, as much as Breath of the Wild was delayed, I bet they spent months and months trying to perfect the second screen experience with the map and the touchscreen and everything, because Miyamoto and Aonuma made such a huge focus on that whenever they showed off Breath of the Wild. When Miyamoto was like, my game comes out next month or next year, and then Aonuma was like, well, my game comes out before that, and then the other guy was like, well, mine comes out before that. When they introduced like Star Fox Zero and everything, they put such a focus on the map, and then the map wasn't even like on the thing. So like the several months that they could have used to work on additional content that could have been included, like alien spaceships. Alright, so our final piece of news, Kayla.
I know you're excited for this one.
What is we saved the best for last. What is
it?
Hashtag get hyped.
Yes. Make sure you guys are sitting down for this one. Fishing.
Alright, are there any details on this?
Fishing.
I don't know if they're. I think you mentioned. No,
it just says fishing.
It just says fishing, but honestly, like Daniel and I were joking about it. Like, you run in, you grab that fish with your hand. Come on.
You jump in the water with your Zora armor.
Like, who needs to actually use a fishing rod?
You can shoot them too with the arrow or.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
You said that so seriously. You're like, you can shoot them too. You can shoot the fish.
You can shoot the fish. You can hit the fish with a sword.
You can blow them up with bombs.
But they stay in one piece. They just kind of die.
Can you electrocute them?
Yes, I did it once by accident. Because I was fighting... Okay, so there's the one tower. What's it called? It's not the Hebra Tower. It's the one south of that.
Nope.
Anyways, it's surrounded by water. There's a bunch of electric Lizalfos.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
And... You're wrong, Jeff.
It's Twilight Princess.
But anyways, it's the one closest to Rito Village, I think, near the Thundra Plateau. Anyways, there's those electric Wizrobes, and there's a bunch of electric Lizalfos there, and there's also some fish in the water that died when I was fighting those guys there because there's a lot of electricity going around And yeah, you can electrocute the fish, and they will die, and then you can pick up their corpses and save them for a week later, and then cook them and eat them. Probably not
Nice.
food safe, but
Ew.
if you think about it, the way Link carries all that meat and stuff around, that's not food safe.
That's why I play like a normal person. I don't eat actual food. I eat apples the entire game. If I get damaged, I just eat like 20 apples.
What
Yeah,
about
you gotta cook
roast-
your meals.
I never cooked my meals until who was it? I think it was Gibbs and Holly. I was streaming and they were like, "Why don't you cook your food?"
You cook your food.
And I was
it makes
like-
it so everything's better if you cook it. I actually, and my wife thinks it's the funniest thing. I will just sit there for like 5 minutes and just like cook a ton of meals, and then I'll go off about my business.
No,
But I'll just sit there
I-
and cook, and I get so excited when I cook something good. I'm like, yeah.
See, I wasn't even cooking to get like nourishment or health and stuff. I was cooking. Like you can buy the, I think like the horny tail lizards or whatever they're called, and then like you can buy them.
Tail lizard.
Yeah, like
Tail?
there's an area where you can buy them from Beetle, and then for like a low cost, but then you can cook them all together, and you get like when you resell it back to him, you get like twice as much as you put in. So you can just like buy all the stuff, cook it, sell it back to him, buy all the stuff, cook it, sell it back to him, and get rupees.
That's devious.
Yes.
Look at you scamming
You know-
Beetle. Beetle's a good guy.
He is a good guy. You know
Alright.
what? All I do to make
Podcast
money,
over.
all I do in Breath of the Wild to make money is I break ore and I just sell the gems. And like I have like you
The
can end up with
Gorons
like
need food.
30,000 rupees, like very quickly. Even though all you're doing is just like selling the gemstones that you get from breaking rocks. So
Nice.
pro tip,
So fishing.
everybody, fishing
Yes.
Pro tip.
is still
Eat
in the game.
apples.
It's called bomb fishing.
Oh, yeah. No,
Well, dive in there and
So-
grab your fish.
Ocarina of Time had fishing. Someone in the chat says all hell Jesse, so that's
Oh, all hell.
something.
Whoa, watch with that foul speech.
Oh yeah. No, I caught myself earlier because instead of saying the one word, I said dang. So
Dang.
I forgot what we were talking about, but I said
I'm
yeah.
sorry. We're talking about fishing.
yeah. We were. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Kayla was talking about her foul mouth when people watch the podcast, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Why are you?"
My
being...
friends are like, "You're so polite and well mannered." Like, I'm not like this off of the podcast.
Yeah. There's.
I'm very terrible and vulgar.
I think, when Miss Click and Holly are on, there are excessive bad and naughty words, which sometimes ends with the podcast not being able to be monetized, but it's not too bad. So
Look at that.
maybe we
just
we
that
miss out on like
shade.
$5 or $10, but it's fine. So yes, if anyone's curious, that's why. Plus, the contract with Nintendo that the YouTube channel has means that we stay PG or PG-13. So, but yes,
I
fishing.
think overall we're pretty PG.
Yeah.
Just we have some weird moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, fishing. I think as many different spots as there are, especially what's the one village? Like it's literally a fishing village.
Laurelin.
Yeah, Laurelin Village.
I really hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm pretty sure it's
It's,
Laurelin Village.
Laurelian historian, myself, and so Laurelian historian wrote the script for a Zelda theory about Laurelin Village
Oh yes.
and the Lonai, the ancient tribe in Breath of
Yeah.
the Wild. I edited the video, and New McIntyre voiced the video.
That guy's got a good voice, by the way.
Yes, it's
saw a lot
why
of
he's
comments on-
New McIntyre.
Yes.
So he
Someone called him Discount McIntyre, and I was a
That's
little
retro.
offended by that.
retro calls him
Retro.
Discount McIntyre. So I'm only vulgar in Spanish, Gus says. So yeah, it was basically the Loreline village is thought to be a certain descendant of the lost Zonai tribe. And the Zonai tribe's the one that builds all of the statues and stuff that you see in Faron Woods and all of the other places. Like the Thunder Plateau has all the giant sculptures of dragons and stuff. But anyways,
I meant to mention about that video actually, because I was watching it the other day. It's really good, by the way. If anybody in the chat has not seen that video, you should go watch it after this podcast.
Yes.
There's a
Loreline historian who helps out with like Commonwealth Realms, Zeltic, all the other Zelda YouTube channels. So
he's just all around a great guy.
He is literally a historian for Zelda. His name matches. But what were you saying, Daniel?
A lot of the architecture like that was described, there's the patterns and then the big dragon statues and stuff. I'm trying to remember which one it is, but it reminded me actually of two dungeons in Skyward Sword that have very similar statues. One was the Earth Temple, and the other one is the other one that is also in the Elden region. I can't remember what it's called. What is it called, Jesse?
The one I always go to is Lenuru Mining Facility, but that's not it.
That's not it. The other one that's in the Elden...
The Fire Temple? Or the Earth Temple? It's the Fire Sanctuary?
There's the Fire Sanctuary, that's the one. So just like the general architecture and the statues and stuff that are in there, just that's what it reminded me of. That's all I was going to say.
Does my hair look silky smooth, Daniel?
Similar statues. Hell yeah, it does.
Okay.
What?
Gibbs says my hair looks silky smooth.
Oh. Clearly you guys haven't seen my hair. Goodness.
I'm looking right at it.
You're the only one with like style in your hair.
Style in my hair.
I put
You
too
should
much
have seen me yesterday. Coming back from California, my hair was like...
What hair care products do you use? I use coconut smelly shampoo. It smells like coconuts.
I use Dove shampoo and then I put a butt ton of hair wax from Lush in it. So because otherwise my hair it actually
Bronze Saber just donated $5 to the podcast and says, "Hey."
That's what we get for talking about our hair.
Yes, thank you.
Subscribe and we'll give you more beauty tutorials on how Jesse does his hair.
That's what the podcast is now, guys. Sorry to all you Zelda fans out there.
Yes, thank you, Bronze Saber. If you have a question, because we're about to start the Zelda mailbag, if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat, and we will make it the priority. It goes for everyone else as well. If you have $1 or $2 to donate, use super chat.
For your question?
Yeah.
Would you pay for your question to be answered?
Yeah.
Oh
Give us.
We're gonna find out right now.
give us like.
Best compliment. He said that I am like Admiral Holdo.
Who's that?
I'm so touched. She's such a beautiful
Star Wars?
old lady. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, which one? Admiral Holdo?
That's the one that the suicide
Jedi,
person.
She took over.
Yeah. She like.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It's like when they were coming up with the.
Right.
They're coming up with the plot for the movie, where like what is
I feel
it?
like the writers were in conflict about whether we should, as an audience, like that character or not. You know.
I liked her because. Sorry, this is so off topic. Let's get back to our question.
Ashley says, "You have to answer because I'm a Patreon." Well, put your question in the chat, Ashley, and we will. Get to it.
We have to answer.
But yes, fishing.
We're still talking about fishing.
Fishing. It should have been in Breath of the Wild because you can shield surf, but you can't fish. So, what's up with that?
Okay.
I think you're just looking at fishing the wrong way.
I really feel like fishing is my least favorite part of any Zelda game that it's in.
The most fishing I've ever done in any Zelda game is probably the mandatory fishing in Twilight Princess.
The one at the beginning, but I only feel good about doing that.
Oh, sorry.
And the cat steals it.
There's 2 times.
There's 2. Yeah, there's the cat.
Yeah. And then the second time is when you're going into what's that? The ice place, and you have to get the.
Yeah, the reek fish.
Okay, yeah. I didn't like that so much. I didn't mind feeding the cat because I like cats. Yeah. Do it for the cats. Why aren't cats
It's a question
bad?
every. Ashley, you need to put your question again in the chat because I don't know how far I would have to scroll up to get to the question. So put it in
Or
so
just
we can see.
quickly throw it in Discord
Yeah.
if you want to. I don't know.
What
Or
hair
just
products?
what hair
DM it
products?
to me. Is that
What
the question?
she asks, what hair products do we
Yeah,
use?
that's the
we
question.
will.
Didn't we just answer that?
Yeah,
Alright,
we just had an entire segment on that. That's how we got the $5 for the Patreon.
alright. So we still have 50 people watching us ramble. Alright, so
I am so sorry.
We're still here.
final-
I mean, thank you guys.
final thoughts on the top 10. Gibbs donated $5. Daniel, can I enforce your rules?
Of course.
Aw, thanks, Gibbs.
Yes, Gibbs, you can enforce my rules. What are my rules again?
For another
what-
$5, you can make up your own rule.
You can.
Jesse!
What?
Yes.
what is
yes,
it?
Gibbs. What is it? What? Anyways, I'm okay with no fishing. That's okay. That's all right, guys. All right.
All right.
That's my final.
So
thought.
yes, the top 10 canceled Zelda Breath of the Wild nonsense cut content. What did you guys think overall? Would you have liked the stuff that we discussed or no?
I mean, putting more stuff in the game is always a good fine by me. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's...
All right, and you, Miss Kayla.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, there's already so much going on, but I could never say no to more because that just means, there's so much more to see in Zelda and so much more time to play.
Right. All right. I guess a new intro for the Zelda mailbag, and since we stuck on the last one so long, we'll try to get through this one a little bit faster. For everyone in the chat, you can leave your questions, and we will get to the questions in the chat before we finish. We'll try to get to at least 2 or 3 that we'll answer really quickly from the chat. But I guess since people are in the mood to donate money to say hi and ask us about rules, if any donations come up in the super chat while we're doing the mailbag, we will immediately answer them. So, yeah.
Yes.
Support
We'll
the
treat them
podcast.
like the Patreon questions, basically.
Yes. All right. Are you guys ready for the mailbag?
Yeah, let's do
Awesome.
it.
I'm working with Axel on something for the
So the
Curiosity
beast.
Shop. Yeah.
Yeah. For his curiosity shop
Uh,
or our.
he's moving the.
We stopped.
He's moving the Curiosity Shop, the official Curiosity Shop, the one he disappeared for like 5 years. Nobody, like, people thought he died because no one knew what happened to him. He came back, started doing it for the Zelda Dungeon. Zelda Dungeon, apparently, Mossy's, who we had on, wants to move the channel in a different direction. So I was talking to Axel about maybe doing something with the mailbag on this channel, or his Curiosity Shop. So, anyways, immediately donate at least $1. They'll see it. Yes, all you have to do is donate like $1. That's like a Snickers bar.
Any amount. We're all just
Yes.
happy that you're willing to actually do that, even.
Yes.
So.
Someone asked what the super chat was. The super chat is like just something that you can donate $1. Like if you look below the text, you'll see like the dollar sign. Just click that. Yeah. So, anyways, you guys ready? Kayla.
Already.
Yeah.
All right.
Do I not look ready?
I don't.
No. Okay, well, get back in my ready pose from last.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me. It is March 19th for our Zelda mailbag on our Hylian's Gamescast. We just finished discussing the top 10 cut content and gameplay mechanics from Breath of the Wild. We talked about rumors or potential leaks of a Nintendo Switch 2.0 with a newer CPU, doubled RAM, and details on leaks or rumors from leakers who may or may not be well known in the Nintendo leaking community about Skyward Sword HD being brought back with additional features similar to Majora's Mask 3D and Twilight Princess HD when they were remade with added amiibo support, fishing ponds. Everybody loves fishing ponds. Anyways, this is the Zelda mailbag. So if you have any Zelda questions that you would like to have featured on our show, just leave them in the comments below. Head over to our Discord or even just tag us on Twitter, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can, but sometimes we have too many questions. So what can they do, Daniel, to guarantee their question gets featured on the show?
There is always patreon.com/GameOverJesse.
Yes.
And if you become one of our patrons, like Ashley, who's a frequent patron asker, for example.
Yes.
Then
we also have Gus in the live chat as well.
And Gus, who is also our patron, and I don't know if the one is watching, but I know he's also one of ours. The one that watches this sometimes on the live streams. But yeah, your questions get priority, basically.
Yes.
That's the fun.
So head over to patreon.com.
Or super chat right now in the live stream.
You can join the live streams, donate via super chat, or you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse and donate for just $1 to have your question guaranteed to be featured on the show and to be the title of the video when it goes up on YouTube. I think that's it. Yeah. So if you
doesn't mean we'll ignore the other questions, though. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
So you want your question to be moved to the top of the list, be prioritized, and have the show named after it, then patreon.com/GameOverJesse is how you do it, where you can donate just $1. But if you donate more than $1, there are a lot of other really cool stuff as well. So our first question, Daniel, do you have one picked out?
I didn't pick one out, but let me do that really fast.
While he's picking one out, you pick one out as well, Kayla.
Okay,
I've already picked one out.
It's from Gus Calvo,
who is a Patreon supporter.
Yes, he's lumped in with the Discord questions, but I saw his name and I was like, wait, his question. Anyways.
Yes, I remember this one from earlier. This is one that I put in right before the podcast started.
So Gus asks, what is your least favorite character on Smash Bros?
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man, really? Whoa.
Pac-Man, that was pretty fast. Why Pac-Man?
I don't know.
You just don't like him.
Like, I played the most recent, like, Capcom versus Marvel or something like that, and, like, Pac-Man was in it as well, but in that game he's in, like, a giant robot suit. And then,
so he's, like, the cool and improved
No,
Pac-Man.
no, I don't like either. It's, like, no version of a fighting Pac-Man really interests me. I didn't really like Solid Snake in Brawl either. I thought that was kind of weird.
You know who I hate? Shulk. Me. I actually really don't like Shulk, and I'm sorry to all the Xenoblade fans out there, but Shulk is terrible, and also difficult to use, and his counterattack is too big of a window. So with every other character that has a counter, you have to time it perfectly.
Oh, can I change my answer?
Work. But his counter...
No.
No, it's too late for you. His counter is like, it's like 30 seconds of counter time. Like, it's, okay, slight exaggeration, but it's like absurdly, like, easy to counter using him. And that just takes the fun out of it when you cannot escape it. I don't know. It just makes me rage. And it's not even like, oh, I know someone who always plays Shulk and they're better than me, because then I would just hate Littleback. But so who I don't. But you know, I can't stand Shulk. I can't use him. I can't play against him. There's just nothing good about him. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Screw Daniel. And
don't hate me, please.
Screw Daniel and Kayla. I'm changing my answer. Bayonetta.
Oh, I was gonna say, what did I do? But you're changing your answer. Okay.
Because you guys said I couldn't change my answer, so.
Okay.
Bayonetta.
Yeah, you missed out. This is our podcast.
I just hate Bayonetta. Yeah.
fine.
Like,
But what about her? But why, Jessica?
Just like
Is it the way that she's dressed?
No, it's just like in general.
just
I'm just
kidding.
not a fan. I'm just not a fan. Like Zero Suit Samus is like dressed similarly, but I'm a fan of hers. I'm just, I don't know, like Bayonetta and Smash Brothers, and then like the boot stomp thing. I just,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't fit.
But some people
for
that
me.
play her are like super OP.
And then there's the rumors of who was it? Like at the last E3 they announced Undertale for Switch, and then the people that made Undertale put up a screenshot of like the main guy from Undertale, like giving a hint that he's going to be a new character in Smash Brothers. So it's like, I don't want that at all.
Video Game Donkey, actually, he posted his like analysis of the new Super Smash Bros. Trailer, and he was
that
like,
video
yeah.
was hilarious.
Right? He's like looking at the shadows, like, this is clearly Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah.
Because
So
it was Donkey Kong's hair. And it was like,
So there was a lot of comments on some of my older videos. There would be a lot of people comment saying, like, is this a second channel, a Video Game Donkey? Or telling me I sounded like Video Game Donkey. And I had no idea who it was until so many people started commenting that I looked it up. And I never understood why they thought I sounded like him.
you don't sound anything like the Video
Nothing
Game
like
Donkey.
him.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just no.
Like, hold on. No, you guys can go on. I'm gonna...
Oh, people in the chat hate Cloud. Wow, guys, calm down. Okay, Kayla, what's your answer?
I'm gonna go ahead and just say Duck Hunt. I was not feeling it. And Ice Climbers. I also did not like Ice Climbers.
Really, Ice Climbers?
Yeah. I don't know, they just weren't my type.
All
But
right.
I'm also the kind of
NES
person...
characters.
So
I know.
look at the Skype thing. This is, I went to my comments section, typed in donkey to get all of the people who said this guy sounds like donkey. So we have like ... donkey. Flusher Chi says the guy sound like donkey. Coolio Kid, the guy sound like Video Game Donkey. He sounds like donkey but more relaxed. 128, this guy sounds like Video Game Donkey. You really sound like donkey. And then I said I have no idea who that is. He says he's a funny YouTuber, blah blah blah. And then like just a bunch of people, there's like dozens and dozens of comments, and I'm like, who in the world is this donkey person?
I need to stop coming on the podcast. Everyone is starting to hate me.
What?
Why?
A plumber to
Don't
the
hate
past.
Kayla.
How dare you hate on Ice Climbers?
Don't hate
I have really
Sublima.
unpopular Nintendo
You're
opinions,
the
okay?
reason they didn't include them
Yeah,
in
wait.
3DS and Wii U version.
Kayla, you're the one that worked for Nintendo, or works, I guess, and then you don't like Ice Climbers, or Duck Hunt, or Amiibos. What do you like, Kayla?
Don't like anything.
That's fair enough, yeah.
Nice.
That's acceptable. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe.
All right. Yeah, so really quick, everyone's least favorite to recap and move on to the next question.
Ice Climbers?
I'm sticking with Shulk. I
All
hate him.
right, Knock Fox
really
in the
hate
chat says Ice Climbers are boring, so at least he or she agrees with you.
Thank you, Knock Fox.
But then Seth says Ice Climbers, best down, beatdown ever.
Meta Knight is also kind of terrible.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
want
I
to put
agree.
that out there.
Also,
Alright.
Sonic was pretty bad, too.
Yeah. Anyways, we're just gonna get too deep into this. We got next question.
Well, actually, remember earlier I said our most popular video was just us hating on Zelda theories
And complaining, yeah.
from the podcast.
That's
Oh,
true.
Gibbs!
What was it?
Those were some dumb
Can
theories.
Kayla stay a permanent host for the podcast?
Sure, Kayla, if you got the time, I'm
Yeah.
down.
True story.
Aw.
We had my friend Amanda, who is the video host for Zelda Universe. She used to be the co-host for the podcast. She ended up, something came up. She wasn't
I
able to
swear I'm not jealous.
come on the podcast Saturday, and she was supposed to come on. She wasn't able to for whatever reason. So I was talking to Daniel. I was like, hey, do you think Kayla would be interested in coming on? Because it was like a last minute guest type situation. And he's like, yeah, she's awesome on the podcast. So like we were both in agreement. That
We both asked her at the exact same time.
yeah.
And then I didn't see it for like a day, so that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
So that's why there was no podcast yesterday. Blame Kayla. For all of you people loving on Kayla
Blame
now.
you guys, you're talking too much in the chat.
All right. So how's donating flirting with Ashley? What?
It's not at all. It's not.
Did
That's all.
well
Someone said that it gives us flirting with Ashley
Person-
by donating
Oh,
money.
I think someone said that donating
Oh.
is like flirting with me.
Oh,
right now. That the money goes to Jesse.
yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. But I mean, you know,
well, the money from the podcast.
that's
gets
all I
split.
gotta say. That's true. If you come on permanently,
Yeah, I guess I would be
I don't
forced
know. I
to
guess
pay.
we have to. Then we have to.
I would be forced to pay you.
I would be
Wow.
forced to pay Kayla as well. That's almost like Holly. She did so
But it's
many video scripts at one point that I felt obligated that I had to pay her. But she said that not to worry about it. But she was doing
It's
like every
publicity, I
top
guess.
yeah, she was doing like every top 5 video that we did. So I was like, I feel bad. She's like recording audio that's
It
taking
is.
like hours and hours every week. But yeah, next question, Kayla.
I can answer any, or I can pick any question, right?
You can,
Any question?
as the
Oh,
new
wow.
co-host of the Hylian's Gamescast.
It's now official. You're now. It's
Wow,
official
such
now.
honor. Oh. Oh, I lost my question.
You said you had one picked. You're not the co-host anymore.
That was really fast. That was great.
This is revoked.
Ugh. Okay. Pang Splash. Yeah, Pang Splash. How do the Kokiri reproduce when they're children forever?
Can you repeat kokery? Can you? Is
Sorry,
that how you say
I
it?
no,
That's how
I
you-
said it wrong. I know. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
That's
so
so sad.
really
Say
quick,
that
Can
again.
you stop getting closer
we
to the
we have a
microphone?
question for you, Kayla.
Oh my God,
Okay,
guys.
like so what's the question?
Percent Wizard in the
You
chat
are home.
to Kayla says, this is from Percent Wizard. Notice me, I'm Link or Lonk. Notice me. He was silent for a while, and then he says, "Please, Kayla, notice me," in all
Wait,
caps.
what?
I have good
Oh,
question.
What?
What's his good question? He
Like,
really
did you
wants you to know.
donate?
Put up your question and put up your question. Kayla will answer right after these brief messages.
What are the messages?
What's the question?
Oh.
That's I don't know. What's the message?
I felt like we were like going to commercial or something.
No, we don't get sponsorships like that. Maybe if Amino like wants
Yeah,
to.
we noticed
think
percent,
the
and now
only-
he's not giving us his question.
Oh,
No, you
I think
you already
the only
you were in the middle of
sponsorship-
asking a question.
What?
You were in the middle of reading a question that someone had asked.
Yeah, and you said
The
cockery.
Ka-
What did you
Kakari.
say?
Kakari, Kokiri.
Cockery.
I
always
used
said
to say-
kokiri.
Anyways,
I used to
how
say
do they
Korkiri.
reproduce when they're children forever?
They don't. They're not children forever. They're little wooden guys now.
I don't think they reproduce. I think the Deku tree just makes more of them.
I'm pretty sure he just kind of wills them into existence. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a
They just-
concerning
They
conversation.
So,
just,
like, the
They just-
Koroks and the Kokiri can't make more, but the Deku tree can produce more. So like,
this is Deku nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna.
all right,
It's just an item in the game.
Bye.
Daniel, you're such an
bye bye
idiot.
free games from Nintendo.
No, I can't get in trouble for saying Deku nuts. It's in the game. It's in the game.
Oh my god.
You know, Hyrule Warriors, so close to coming out for the Switch. We got Donkey Kong. We got Yoshi coming.
They will.
We-
The
we-
Nintendo ninjas will never know.
We
Don't
have
tell your
all
best pal
these
Miyamoto.
all these great games. Now Nintendo's not just, they're gonna be like, sorry, your co-host, just the Deku nuts. Can't do it.
I was gonna say Deku seeds at first, but
And then you realize they're actually nuts.
you know what?
No,
Ocarina
there are
of Time
Deku seeds though.
is rated like a Plumber to the Past is PG stream, Daniel, but I just gotta say that Ocarina of Time is rated E for everyone. Okay, and if you played that game, there's some terrifying stuff in that game. Plus, there's Deku nuts in that game. Okay, that is all I gotta say.
So to answer your question, that's how babies are
The
born.
Deku seeds are inside the Deku nuts.
No, can we stop now?
No.
Alright, next question.
Oh, we're just talking about trees, guys.
Did Percent Wizard give his question?
Yeah, he was asking about what we think the next Zelda game should be, but someone mentioned that was a question that's already been answered.
Oh yeah, Breath
I
of
think
the
we've done
Wild
that.
with Twilight Princess style dungeons.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Yes, give it to me, please.
More fishing.
No. More bombs to fish with.
More shock
We already
arrows
got
to
round
fish
bombs. We got square bombs. Next, we need some parallelogram bombs. Triangular prism bombs.
with. 10 out of 10. I would IGN again. Yes. All right.
So,
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
It's your turn.
Korean Bats on Twitter asks, can Kirby kill most Dragon Ball characters?
Yes.
All he needs to do is eat Goku.
Yeah.
Take his
and he would
power.
be powerful.
That's it. That's all he's got to do.
And honestly, I feel like Dragon Ball characters would just be absolutely terrified. They'd be like, "What did I just see?" Like, I think that enough is to defeat all of the Dragon Ball.
Well, there is a character, Majin Buu, in Dragon Ball. He eats characters, so.
So he needs to eat that guy.
Yeah.
So,
And then they can bring Yoshi in,
Like, you think
and
Majin Buu is
Yoshi
scary?
can eat that guy.
So here's the philosophical question. It's not one of our chat questions. It's who would win in a pie eating contest? Yoshi or Kirby?
Kirby. Because Kirby
Kirby.
could just, like, consume, but Yoshi has to, like, grab
Yeah,
with
he
the
has to-
tongue and bring it back.
So if all the pies are on the table once,
So
Kirby wins.
Yeah,
But
Kirby.
if they're bringing them out one at a time, then Yoshi wins? Is that
Well, see, they could just constantly throw the pies at Kirby, and Kirby would just suck them all in. Or they would
Or if you laid
individually.
them all in a straight line and Kirby was there, Kirby would just have to turn and just like vacuum them up.
Yeah,
Problem
Yeah, there's
solved.
no way around it. Kirby eats.
he has to pull
Kirby.
a Jesse and just like vacuum all the pies.
That's pulling a Jesse?
I guess.
That's so...
I don't really eat pie.
There are
though.
Next
worse
stream,
things.
Jesse eats pie.
Yes. Take us to our next question, Daniel.
Wait, I thought it was
Danielle.
your turn.
No, I did
Oh,
the
no, we just
dragon
did
Oh,
ball.
that was his question.
Right.
Kirby.
That was legitimately a question. Okay. I actually really like this one. This comes from Thomas Armstrong on Twitter.
Yes.
He tagged Miss Click in it. She's not in this,
Oh, that was for last week.
but that's... Oh, well. Here it is. Breath of the Wild Link in Smash. What do you expect for weapon set? Will he have runes and champion abilities? I can imagine Rivali's, Gale, and Urbosa coming to my aid. Especially if has no hook shot for ledge grabs. Zero mention of Metroid, Yoshi, or Labo in Direct. Are they waiting for E3? So I guess there's two questions. Mostly I just want to talk about the Smash one.
Yeah. So my original thought, and I'll go first because this is really quick. So I had mentioned that the up B, or like the jump spin attack, which is like the third or second jump that Link does, could be replaced with, instead of just like jumping really high and doing a spin attack, it's what's it called?
Rivali's Gale.
Ravioli scale
Ravioli's Gale.
is what
Ravioli
sends him higher, and then he can do a spin attack along with it. And then instead of a hook shot, he has like the magnesis. So instead of a hook shot going out, grabbing an opponent, pulling them closer, the blue magnesis orb goes out, grabs an opponent, and pulls them to you. And then like his bubble defense thing could just be like Darunia's protection, or not Darunia, Daruk's protection, and Urbosa's Fury could just be whatever. Like, yeah. So that's my quick answer. So what do you guys? And that's if they do want to replace the hook shot with the other stuff. If it's not just a palette swap. So.
Yeah. There's a really good video by Zeltic about this very topic, actually. Mr. Ed King.
Giovanni.
He's but basically, yeah, he pretty much has the champion abilities as sort of like the special attacks, and it actually goes in depth, like all of the neutral air and the standards and forward tilts and everything, like very in depth about. I don't agree with everything. I actually like your idea better than what he had. He had Daruk's protection as a down B move. I would rather keep bombs there and use Daruk's protection as Link's bubble shields, because that just makes more sense. He already has this, that fits more in line. But overall, like, go watch that video. It's pretty good. There's a lot of things that I would tweak maybe to be more in line, as long as it doesn't. I really just don't want them to replace current Twilight Princess Link in Smash, because Link is always my main, and in every Smash, and I don't want to lose him. I just would like to also have Breath of the Wild Link. Just have two. We already have Toon Link and Twilight Princess Link. We can have Breath of the Wild Link too.
Give us Minish Cap Link.
Just give us that Toon Link is Wind Waker Link, but
the hat.
Go do that as an alt costume for Toon Link. Right? Yeah.
And then you can have Mario instead, with Mr. Cappy and Link with Eslo, and they can just be like, "You ripped your idea off from me."
I would love it if they incorporated Cappy.
I think I want to see Cappy.
Well, they do have Cappy.
At the least.
You can see like the bottom part of his eye.
Oh, really?
Mario. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I need to go watch this again. I didn't do the in-depth analysis, but I did watch it.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was IGN or someone's analysis where like they pointed towards like you can see the bottom of like Cappy's eyes on one of the things.
Oh. But I was just thinking, like, at least have him in there as a taunt at the very least. Because Link can have Navi, even though it's Twilight Princess Link and Navi's not in that game. So there's no reason Mario can't have Cappy at the very least there. Work him in somewhere else, that's cool too. If we can get Flood, we can have Cappy. Yeah. Right. Kayla.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Kayla.
Hello.
Miss.
What about me?
Miss co-host. New co-host.
Am I doing something?
Yes. Yeah. Your thoughts. Breath of the Wild Link and Smash.
It was funny because as you're answering these questions, I felt like you're answering both of Thomas Armstrong's questions at the same time.
Oh, what? Did he have?
Because like you guys were kind of talking about the Labo as well, and I was like, what?
We
and then
did
you
not.
guys. Oh, really? Well,
really? Are you okay?
No.
La.
She's like, I tuned out an hour ago.
True. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I really like Twilight Princess Link, and I would not want them to change that. But I feel like upgrading the weapon sets and incorporating more of the champion would make more sense. But then I would get kind of confused because it's like mixing links. But I mean, they're all the same link at the end of the day, right?
Give us multiple, like, because we already have Toon Link and Twilight Princess Link.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, now we have the third one. Just give us Breath of the Wild Link. I don't know what they call it.
Hate me for this one, but can we get rid of Toon Link and get Breath of the Wild Link?
Actually, I never play as Toon Link, so I'm fine with that. But I know a lot of people do main as him because he's a little faster.
I think I made Jess cry.
Oh, Jesse, it's okay. I'll still just keep this Toon Link forever in my heart.
You just ruined your life. Broke your little heart.
It's gonna be okay, Jesse.
Silent treatment.
Do you play as Toon Link, Jesse? What, Jesse?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Toon Link is...
Who's your main?
I usually play as either Link or Pikachu when I just want to have fun. And just like Thunderbolt people.
Roy's my boy.
Yeah. So next question, or did Kayla answer?
Oh yeah, I answered.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah, your turn, Kayla. And then everyone in the chat, get your questions ready. she'll do one more question from the list we have. I have a question picked, unless she gets this question. And then we'll each take one question from the live chat as well. So get your questions ready. All right. Go,
All right.
Kayla.
So, Game Over Night of Eshelda. Did I pronounce that properly? Okay.
Maybe.
So, do you think Ocarina of Time Link had mixed feelings for all of the girls that liked him when he was an adult or child? For example, like Ruto, Zelda. I don't know why Navi's in there. I think that's really weird.
No.
Sorry if you're watching this, but what?
No.
I don't think so. Like, I feel like he was just a small, confused boy. He just got thrown into all this stuff and just kind of like took that on. But I don't think he was like had weird feelings for all of these girls he was encountering. I know that he was terrified of Ruto because she's like, let's get married.
I think he would have been more shocked that there were fish people in general. Like, after he coped with the fact that there are like half rock, half humanoid people, half fish, half humanoid people, after he coped with that, then he would move on to like, oh, well, now they like me. So, yeah.
I just, I keep thinking about the fact that Link in Ocarina of Time, he's like a 9 or 10-year-old kid. So, I mean, as someone who was once a 9 or 10-year-old kid, I'll tell you, in that situation, I would not have. Really? You were too?
You were all that age one?
Me too.
What? It's been a while, but I mean, like, trying to put myself in that situation, I don't think that I would have had weird conflicting feelings for all these girls. I think Link was just really trying to get on with what he was doing. I don't think the developers intended to make it a weird love triangle thing. It's just kind of in there humorously, you know? I don't know. It's a weird one. Chewbacca?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was talking to someone in the chat. Apparently there was a ghost behind me.
That's not
Nice.
a ghost.
It's a Chewbacca!
That's the old man arguing with the Minish.
I really would like to see that.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. Do you guys think yes, no, maybe?
I really don't think so. Growing up, I always thought he was just really in it, like going for Zelda. But I don't think that's
ship
right.
it.
What about Matt?
I don't ship. I do not ship.
It's like you found his dad's secret chickens. You won her hand in marriage.
Woo!
For finding the cuckoos.
Congratulations.
That's how that works, isn't it? If you find a man's cuckoos, you get his daughter's hand in marriage. That's what Zelda taught me.
I'll be sure to make a note of that to let my significant other know.
Yes.
Yeah, he better get some chickens for your dad. So, I don't think as a kid I was shipping any characters with Link. You know, just that was not why I played Zelda.
Okay,
no.
So you guys are both dudes here, but me as a young girl playing Zelda and watching my brother play Zelda, I was like 100% like, I ship Link and Zelda so hard.
Okay.
Only Skyward Sword is the only game I actually like ship Link and Zelda.
No, you
because
can't.
It's like very.
Kayla.
Sometimes
Link
like,
and
they're
Zelda
related.
are sisters in Ocarina of Time.
Link and Zelda are sisters.
Yeah.
Okay, but actually, the Link and Zelda being siblings in Ocarina of Time was an actual. We talked about a dumb theory video.
Was it a dumb theories video or was it just a normal theories video?
I think it was in a dumb theories video. I mentioned it.
I think next week we should do like dumb theories number 2.
The return.
Yeah.
Return.
Because
Just
like most
forewarning, we already talked about the Link is dead theory.
Like I consider when a podcast segment gets around 5,000 views, I consider that good because it's not a theory video, it's not a top 10, it's just us talking about nonsense. So I look at 5,000 good. When I seen that theory video got to like 30, 40,000, I was like, we need to have more discussions like that, where it is like a specific topic and not just news, because those videos tend to get closer to like 5 to 10,000. So that's why we had the really long top 10 thing. Anyways, go Daniel.
Okay. I did not pick one out.
Are we picking questions from the chat now?
Oh, he can.
Oh, are we?
Yeah. I don't. You can. You're already looking. No, from the Discord, or the thing.
Oh.
The already previously established.
Someone asks. It is Brituni3, or maybe it's Brituni 3 days ago asked.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. If you can answer my question on the next video, which we can, is Zelda 2 futuristic? So guys, we will answer that one on the next video.
The answer for me is no.
No.
Like the original Zelda was supposed to have like computer chips instead of the Triforce pieces. So, and that would cause you somehow to travel back and forth through time. But they ended up changing a lot of it. Now there's Triforce, then an evil pig. So, yeah, I don't think it's too futuristic. Yeah. Like, I had issues with Skyward Sword, because in Skyward Sword, it's supposed to take place, like, thousands of years before everything else. But in that game, even though it takes place so long before, there's still ancient technology and futuristic robots and stuff like that. So I kind of had an issue with that. But when you get to Breath of the Wild, it's like they have a tablet that they use. So, yeah. I'm waiting for the day that there's like just an actual TV that plays.
But I feel like even though they're making like more of a kind of weird shift over to being more futuristic, at the same time it felt like really ancient.
Yeah. Well, that's what, like in Skyward Sword, the robots weren't newly advanced futuristic robots. They were all ancient robots. Like, it was all ancient technology. So even though it's a lot more futuristic than it should be, all of the futuristic technology is referred to as ancient technology, as if it got to like how it is in our time, and then we kept advancing to like year 3000, and then everything just got nuked and we had to start over. That's kind of what seems like what happened in Breath of the Wild, to where they were super futuristic, and then something happened and they had to start over. And they slowly discover these ancient robots and runes and technology as time goes on. So, because what I always think about, I actually went on a little bit too long, sorry. I'll finish after this. But what I always think about in Breath of the Wild is it takes place 10,000 years after whatever the previous Zelda game would be, whether that's Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, whatever. It takes place 10,000 years after. So if you look at real world time, and you go back, like you look at all the computers, tablets, cell phones, everything that we have right now, go back like just 500 years. None of that really existed. You go back, well, actually none of it existed at all. Like, even if you go back like 100 years, I don't think there was like TVs or anything like that. So to see like how far we've come with computers and like talking to someone like we are now over webcam in just like 100 years, and you go back 2,000 years or 3,000, 5,000, however long it was, to where they were like building the pyramids. And that was just like half the time that passes between the 10,000 year gap of Breath of the Wild. So it's like in that 10,000 years, they could have like started civilization over again. It ended, started over again. It ended, started over again, ended. And now like it's on its like 5th or 6th like refresh, because so much time is, yeah, it's like, well, it's like 10,000 years between whatever the last game was and Breath of the Wild. So it's like in that 10,000 years you can do so much. Like if you even look like 1,000 years in the future from now, as opposed to the 10,000 in Breath of the Wild, we're probably going to be living on like Mars or something in 1,000 years. So if you put that in context with Zelda and its 10,000 years, I think it realistically should be a lot more futuristic than it is. So that's my thoughts. What about you, Daniel?
I mean, I always felt like, a little bit with Skyward Sword, it felt a little out of place, but like it was rooted enough in the game lore that it worked. Breath of the Wild, especially, I feel like it's very much like they've built the game around it, and it doesn't feel out of place because it's thematically tied to everything that's going on in the game. So even though it is maybe like futuristic technology, the way it's presented, the way the design is built to be kind of ancient technology, especially given that huge time gap. That I never felt like there has been a game that was like too futuristic. Like before this we got Steamboat in Phantom Hourglass, we got a train in Spirit Tracks, there's ancient robots in Skyward Sword, but those are pretty much the best examples of like technology like in Zelda. And only now with Breath of the Wild they're like, there's a motorcycle, this is too
the motorcycle thing was kind of
so it's like, I don't know, like the motorcycle maybe is pushing it, but still, like, I never felt like, okay, this is too weird and out of place. Like, it's just because they've sort of built the game around having that as a design choice. So that's all I gotta say about that, guys.
All
okay
right. And you, Kayla?
What? I already said what I had to say.
Oh, sorry.
And then you went into your segment about all of the things. And...
Okay. Well, I thought I started talking like right after Daniel finished, so sorry.
No, I feel
Anyways,
everyone
everyone
venting.
From the chat, queue up your questions. The last question from our previous list. Okay. Brand.m. I hope I pronounced that right. I believe this was left on a video, the last video that Daniel and I did, maybe one of the videos where we talked about Hylian Island and like the confirmed theories and stuff. He says, if Hylian Island was created by a god that lives in the dream realm and the god wakes up, would the island not go back to the dream realm where it will continue to live on like Hyrule? So this came up because I was talking about how the three goddesses are gods, like they're the gods that people in Hyrule worship. And they created Hyrule, the law of the land, everything is what Ocarina of Time tells us. Like they created Hyrule, one created all of the life on it, and the other created the law. And that's responsible to the three goddesses. In the same way, there are many other gods and deities in the Zelda series, like the Windfish in Link's Awakening. There are the different gods for like Labrina and Holodrum from the Oracle games. So like there are all these things that these separate gods can create on their own. And my question was, if the three goddesses, like if Hyrule didn't exist and the three goddesses can just create it because they want to and it's real, if the Windfish, who is another god, creates his own world, why is it less real than the world that the three goddesses created? If they're both gods, they both create worlds, everyone looks at Hyrule as being like the only real world, and then all of the other worlds are like fake, or they're a dream world. And my thought was, in Link's Awakening, when the Windfish wakes up, Hylian Island disappears. So I put the thought of, while he's sleeping, what if that's what connects Hylian Island to Hyrule? So when he goes to sleep, they both like enter the same realm, but when he wakes up, Hylian goes back to its own realm. So in theory, Hylian Island wouldn't be any less real or fake than Hyrule would, because they both at one point didn't exist, and then they were both at one point created by their own gods. So if one's real, why shouldn't the other be real? And he is kind of saying something similar. Wouldn't it go back to its own realm? So what do you guys think about
heavy.
that?
Yeah. That question was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Okay. So to put it simply, three goddesses, for everybody watching. 3 goddesses created Hyrule. The Windfish created Kohila Island. Both are gods, deities that are worshipped by their own people. If one can create their own world and it's real, why is the other not real? Or is it real? So that's the thing here. What do you guys think?
Are we waiting for each other?
You pretty much covered it. I mean,
No, like I think that makes a lot of sense because it's a dream realm basically, and because of the title dream realm, like it wouldn't really exist if you're awake, unless it's like a daydream realm.
Though I was thinking it's not like it ceases to exist, but like that's when there's a crossover.
I have a fan in the chat. Superfun64 says Jesse is damn handsome. Thank you.
Ooh.
There's been a few times where people commented about Daniel's good looks.
He is quite a dapper man.
Yes. Seems. Oh, I can spy his sword and shield in the background.
Yeah, behind his broom and dustpan.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah, you're muted.
Oops, it's a lamp, guys.
It's a lamp? The sword and shield is a lamp?
Yeah, the sword is a lamp.
Alright, so everyone in the chat, again, queue up your comments. Kayla, would you like to go through the chat and pick out a comment?
Oh, goodness. I will try to find one.
Alright. We will scroll up to look for the comments. Mind blown. Nay Zed again would be called the Zelda, the missing link. How are you not swarming in PG censored at the moment? Make over 9,000, all of us. Ashley is the right idea. Time to get food.
Ooh.
We're looking for comments in the chat now. We're each going to take one comment.
Oh, Jesse's supposed to order a pizza for us. Nice.
This boring question.
I'm generic?
Kayla needs to get rid of her ghost.
Yeah, apparently I have a ghost.
Hey, don't bash the Master Cycle Zero, bruh. That's a guardian. A motorcycle isn't out of place. Order us a pizza, bro. Pause the stream so everyone can go get food. You want dinner? Isn't the place where you eat? Oh, diner, yes. If there's apocalypse tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, they'll find a tablet in 500 years. They won't. Someone make me dinner. Oh, that was me. Was making dinner but couldn't eat it. Oh, we kept you from your food.
Questions. I'm like,
there was people that put questions earlier.
Noodle Bro says, "Are we real?
Are we real?
Are we real?"
They're having an existential crisis.
that's a really good question.
With like 3 exclamation marks, so it's like very upset. Like, are we real?
They're really concerned about my Chewbacca, which is hilarious. I actually have a Chewbacca mask too.
Would you like to go get your Chewbacca from the wall to show us?
Oh, I gotta get up for it.
Remember, people in the chat, we need your questions to end. We need 3 more questions, one for each of us. No, they are sisters. Didn't you just hear Jesse? What? Who? Oh, Link and Zelda, sisters. Yes. Jesse confirmed it. Maybe Zelda is the brother. No, they're sisters. Oh, is that... So that's...
Why am I generic, though? I'm so confused. Knockbox, I'm generic.
Is that the new Donkey Kong brother that you have?
New funky modes.
This is Chewbacca. It's funny because when I bought him, she was like,
Gus.
"Just really good fluff."
Gus said your amiibo was the one that he's been trying to get.
Wait, which one?
I guess the Wind Waker that you were showing off.
Oh, this one. Yeah, I just bought this yesterday, so just showed up today. And Toon Zelda is coming in the mail too.
Okay, Ashley says, video game characters crush. Are there any video game characters that any of you have a crush on?
Link.
Lunk. Which one? Which one? Toon Link?
All of them.
That's horrible. He's only 10. How dare you?
Twilight Princess Link.
Sidon.
Sidon.
It's, okay, it's not just because he's dreamy, but also because he's so encouraging and supportive, He's just,
Wait, you
he's
have no, never mind.
what?
No, continue.
What, Kayla?
No, say it.
Nothing.
I love
Nothing. I
Sidon.
had nothing to say. I'm
What?
awesome.
Oh, is it because he's a fish?
He's just a very supportive person.
He
You know?
is. But you know what? You're right. Like, he's got this really great personality. Like, if I were
Yeah.
a fish, I'd have a crush on him.
I had something to say, but it's not PG. So.
Yeah, I think that was, yeah.
You could just DM that to me.
Still looking for questions. No, I think.
like-
So I was going to say, like, I'm not gay, but I would marry Sidon because he's so supportive. If there was
Yep.
no butt stuff.
Well, first of all, he's a fish. No.
Yeah. There's
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, no, okay. Do we have another question?
There
Someone
is
has another-
actually there's a really good one in the chat here. Animester
I-
2040.
I picked
Pass.
Yuna from Final
Yuna?
Fantasy X.
Oh, that's your crush?
Yeah, when I played the game, I had a crush on her.
That's
Aw.
cute. Aw. So this is a good question. Animester says, "Here's a good question." That's how I know is a good question because he said it.
Oh.
If Link is such a hero,
Mm-hmm.
why isn't there any statues or something telling of his many predecessors? Well, my friend,
Oh, there is.
there is one. Pretty much just one that I can think of. In Wind Waker, there's a statue of Link from Ocarina of Time in Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, in most Zelda games, everything gets destroyed. So if there was a statue,
true.
it would have just been.
And at the very least, like, he is still remembered. A lot of games refer to legends of another hero.
Mhm.
We know that there's some good stained glass artwork in Minish Cap of the hero of men who we never actually see other than in that stained glass artwork. The sages are in the Wind Waker in stained glass form as well. That's the best ones, okay, guys? So that's so yes, we've got one example for you, and therefore you're wrong about everything.
Yes.
Good question.
Wow.
No.
So Twilight Princess Link, there's no statues in Twilight Princess?
I don't think so. I can't think of it, except for there's the weird wall mural that was only in Twilight Princess HD. But I mean, otherwise, there's
Wait, which mural? What are you talking
in Hyrule
about?
Castle Town. There's like art on some of the walls. Wait, you brought this up earlier, didn't you? That people thought it was connected to Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
It had-
yeah.
But it really wasn't. Had nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. But it had artwork of like a young Link talking to some Gorons, talking to some Zoras, and talking to some Rito. And some people were there in the
Oh,
picture.
they had a good point.
Yeah.
Ashley says Link wasn't remembered in Twilight Princess.
That's true. That Link wasn't.
So,
But there were other Links in the chain of the timeline.
Alright, everyone, we need 2 more questions.
Oh,
So come on.
Noodle Bro. So how many links do you think there are that are just failures? Like, some guy is gonna be my son's gonna be a hero and he ends up as a chicken farmer.
So here's the question. The only Link that is canonically, however you say it, failed was Link from Ocarina of Time. So he saved everyone. Like, he saved the Zoras, the Kakiri. He saved the Gorons from Volvagia. He did everything he was supposed to. He just died at the very end against Ganon. So is he still a hero? Or
Sure.
because he saved everyone, but they're all going to die anyways. Because now, not only is Ganon taking over Hyrule, but now he's pissed. He was just in his castle playing piano, keeping to himself, but now his castle's destroyed. He's pissed off. He's going to wreak havoc on Hyrule. So if anything, Link made it worse.
That was his one timeline where he was a true failure. Thanks, Link.
Yes. But other than that, I don't think, like, maybe Mario Kart Link, because he just rides around on the Mario on the carts all day.
Not the hero that we need.
Again, the hero of time, busy driving a cart instead of saving the world.
All right, so a last question, a plumber to the past. New third-party character for Smash 5. Do you want anyone, or should the third-party characters be removed?
No. They should not be removed.
What,
and also,
what do you have against third-party characters, Gibbs?
Shovel Knight.
Or Gibbs, Daniel?
No, they should... Don't remove them. They're good. Keep them and give me Shovel Knight.
I agree.
Give me Shovel Knight.
I just don't want
That's
the
a great
Undertale
indie
dude to be in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I don't
Like
see really him having a move set.
Like
You know?
the thing, like the Undertale people, like they teased it for Smash Brothers, and like I'm afraid it's a legitimate tease and not them just trolling.
It could. I don't know. Where was that?
Like it was.
Is that on Twitter or where? I haven't seen this.
I think it was on Twitter from like their direct Twitter account, like the developers. Because it was, I want to say it was like, I seen 2 screenshots as if the screenshots were pulled from a video. Or like a 30-second clip or something. I'll find it and I'll post it later.
I was gonna say I was gonna take a peek.
If they put any like Undertale stuff in Smash, I would like them to be an assist trophy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough there to warrant like a full playable character though.
Yeah.
But I can see it working as like Sans as an assist trophy. Yeah, especially if it comes up with like the whole HUD and everything, sort of like Pong does almost.
Mm-hmm.
That'll work. But that's about it. As far as indie representation goes, I feel that Shovel Knight is the way to go. And he's pretty much got a moveset. He's got items that he can use. He's got the relics. He's got
relics, shovel.
He's got the 2 like it's already a 2D platformer. So as far as like his basic moveset goes, it's already mapped out. You just have to take it from the game.
Wicked down B.
Oh yeah,
I was playing Shovel Knight today, so.
That game's the bomb. I think Plague of Shadows is the best out of the 3 so far.
All right,
but...
so here is one of the screenshots. I don't know if that.
Are you putting it in the chat or?
Yeah,
no?
on the Skype chat. It's it's under like the Undertale dude, whatever, and he says, "I've been hearing a lot about this Super Smash Brothers game," and then he has a wink face.
No. That's a terrible.
But, I mean, there's not like it doesn't look like this is a screenshot that takes place in Smash.
No, but it's like the developers of the game released it. Like the developers of Undertale released.
Heard a lot about Smash. I don't know. This is weird. I don't feel good about that.
And then there's like the winky face, which is either a troll.
So that's just how his face is.
I'm just not a fan. I don't know. It scares me.
Well, no thanks. Assist trophy. That's what I'm calling for.
Yeah. I would be okay with an assist trophy.
Yeah. Kayla, you look so concerned. What's going on?
Oh, no, I was thinking like what if they tried to do like a map and incorporated like Undertale into it? Like I think that might be okay.
Like a stage.
Yeah.
Have they ever had stages for a character that wasn't on?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just trying to think about like actually having them in there. Like I really liked Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a really like all around good game for me. But I totally get where you're coming from. Like I would not like to see them in Smash Bros. There are so many other characters that I want there that aren't them.
Well,
I also feel like it undermines kind of the entire message of Undertale to have the characters of Undertale in a fighting game.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
So this is my hope, but this could also be bad. If an Undertale character was put in Smash Brothers, then that would give me hope that all of the other characters that fans would want are also being put in Smash Brothers. Because it seems like this character would be at the bottom of the list.
Especially because like the release date for Undertale was like a couple years ago. Like he's kind of an outdated thing. Like I actually kind of forgot about him until everyone was like, "Oh no, like he might be in Smash."
Yeah, so like for everybody wanting like Waluigi or whoever, all the people wanting like different Pokemon other than the ones that they use, all the people wanting
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, like people wanting like different people from the Zelda series that haven't been featured, like Girahim or whoever. People that want Banjo-Kazooie. That was a big thing that people voted for. All the Miis out there that would like to see Goku. There are so many characters that I would see them putting on there before they would even think about getting Undertale. Like you mentioned Shovel Knight earlier. There's already a Shovel Knight amiibo. So my thought is, if this is a character, he is one of many other third-party characters who are also going to be in there. In that case, it would be good. But then it's like, would there be so many characters that it just doesn't feel like Smash Brothers? Because Smash Brothers, all the characters, like there's some quality standard with them. And if they're putting in all of these other characters, is it still going to have that same quality set?
I feel like for them to be making like a new Smash though, it's like the bar is set so high because Smash 4 was amazing. Like it was so good for like online capabilities, and they were like nerfing and like updating characters and stuff, which I thought was like really weird for Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So like I could see it as like potential, like they'll get really into it, maybe do like game updates.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I imagine they'll be releasing DLC characters throughout the entire lifespan of the Nintendo Switch. So like 4 years from now, if there's not a Switch 2.0, I could still see them releasing like yearly Smash Brothers characters. And it's just like something when E3 comes around, instead of being like, oh, will they show off Smash Brothers? Will they show off a new Zelda game? Your thought is, which new Smash Brothers characters are they going to be showing off this year?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're going to be with this Smash Brothers. Yeah, I think that brings us to the very end. But I want to do something interesting.
So. Okay.
Do you have any questions, Daniel? Give us one question.
Am I asking you guys, or like am I asking the chat?
No,
this question?
you're asking us. The people can comment their answers below as well, but you and Kayla get to answer a question.
Well, gosh, I didn't think of it.
Or ask a question.
I got nothing, man.
Mine is what is your favorite restaurant?
What? It could be any question? I thought it had to be...
Oh, yeah, no, this is way different. Okay,
Jesse.
my favorite restaurant is, it's a place for my Vancouver local friends. It's on Commercial Drive in Vancouver called Banditas.
Bandita.
And you can get a burrito like this big. And it's like they bake it with cheese and everything, and it's no, it's superbly good.
So good.
It's not like I love me some Chipotle burritos, right? But Chipotle is like your greasy fast food. This is like you're gonna sit down at a table with your fork and knife, because you're not gonna touch this burrito with your hands. This is a fine dining burrito. Yeah, I'm all over that place. It's where I want to go for my birthday. Anytime I want to go out to eat, I want to go there. Like, every time.
Yeah.
It's just so good. Look it up.
Animeister,
Vancouver.
Animeister in the chat says Olive Garden. That is also my favorite. I love my favorite food in the entire world is the chicken Alfredo pasta from Olive Garden.
Do we have an Olive Garden in Canada? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think we do.
Do you have a Canadian garden?
Yeah.
There used to be a restaurant near Kayla. Do you remember near Metrotown called Bread Garden? probably probably not even
Bread
close
Garden.
to the same thing. Probably not even close.
Nice. All right. And your favorite restaurant, Kayla. And think of your own questions while you answer as well. So, what's your favorite restaurant?
I am 100% a breakfast person.
Mhm.
So it would either be IHOP or Ricky's.
Potatoes. IHOP or Ricky's? What is Ricky's?
Ricky's
is
is
not
like
a good restaurant.
no, that's why I like it though. It's a really bad restaurant, but it just has such like a homey feel. Like you sit there,
my
you drink
favorite
your
bad
terrible
restaurant.
coffee.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like people that love going to Denny's.
Yeah.
Nice.
I never understood that.
Gibbs
that
says
whole-
IHOP. Ashley says IHOP.
Heck,
IHOP is.
yeah.
IHOP, you hop, we all hop.
IHOP is my top choice.
All right.
100%.
Daniel, your question.
Okay. I still didn't think. Okay.
Wait, what? Gibbs
Coffee?
says stuffed French
Okay.
toast.
Stuffed French toast.
Yeah, there's
damn
What
it
is that?
They stuff it with like cream
luxurious.
cheese and stuff.
They stuff it with what?
Cream cheese, fruit.
What? This is a real thing?
Yeah. Except I don't think it's really like stuffed. I think it's like literally just 2 pieces of French toast and a bunch of stuff in the middle.
Oh.
'Cause how do you stuff a piece of
So it's like
toast?
Somehow.
bread?
a McGriddle from McDonald's where it's like the 2 French toast buns or the thing.
I don't think we have McGriddle up here.
No, that was a thing.
Yeah, they have
I always hear about it, but I'm like.
so you can get a
that
sausage McGriddle, and it's like instead of a biscuit, like a sausage biscuit or a chicken biscuit, whatever, like it's just 2 pancakes with like
Huh.
drops of syrup inside the pancake.
Wow.
It's like very
Okay.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
It sounds like it. Like all
That
the,
sounds
all
like
the good
a
things
straight
in
up
life.
artery clogger.
Yes. Like after you eat one, you will feel pimples forming on your face from all the grease. All right, Daniel, question.
Okay, think back to them high school days and everything, right? Obviously, we all like video games, but what kind of favorite classes you ever took or hobbies outside of gaming that you've got?
Does it have to be
This is now
school related?
I guess not. If you can't think of
Yeah,
any
Jesse, do you have any other hobbies that aren't video games?
Before my YouTube channel was about video games, I would put up songs that I would record. So I would say
I knew
music.
that already, but
Yes.
Didn't know that.
There are
play
about-
guitar, right? Is that
Yeah, mainly guitar. So there is
Oh.
like a little over 40 original songs that I recorded and a bunch of cover songs on the early videos of my YouTube channel.
That's so cool.
From,
I have
like-
to do some creeping.
Yeah, from like 2012 and 2013. Who was it? Some of the cover songs are from like Taking Back Sunday, I See Stars, The Skylit Drive, Asking Alexandria, and a few other. And the original songs are similar to all of those. But yeah, the early videos are just my friend Matt and I just goofing around on guitar, and then as it goes on, the songs get more and more I would say professional in quotes, to where like they're actual songs instead of us just playing guitar. But yeah, like the drums, the guitar, the bass, the piano, everything on the songs, it was all by me. So very proud of all of those, but they nobody cared about those, or at least not very many people. I think I got my first 100,000 views from the songs that I released. But now the YouTube channel gets like, and that was over the course of like 2 or 3 years, and now the YouTube channel gets like 1 million views a month. So that compared to like 100,000 over 3 years, not very many, but it's still a lot. So anyways,
slight difference?
yeah. What about you guys? What was your hobby, Daniel?
I was into theater big time, really big into theater. I did a lot of like acting, community theater, improv, stand-up comedy. Yeah, all of those. I haven't done any of that stuff in a while, but that was like my jam for other than gaming. That was like my big thing. And then I wanted to go into like do some legitimate like filmmaking stuff, but then it just kind of never panned out, mostly because you can't do anything like that by yourself. You know, like you need like a crew, and then like organizing other people is really difficult, especially because you have to organize other people that are local. So that just yeah, that was my stuff there. I also can play drums, but nothing else, no other instruments. So just
That answers a lot of questions because I was actually creeping your social media the other day and I was like, what is this picture?
what
Theater.
picture was that?
It was theater. I don't know, you were like wearing makeup and like really tight pants.
Maybe I
don't
should
know what's going on.
creep on Daniel's Facebook as well.
Makeup and tight pants.
I don't
that
know.
Sounds like me, but
On the group chat that we have with Daniel, we can just both set a time to go through all of his pictures and then talk about it and pretend that he's not listening, even though he can see all of our comments.
Yeah.
yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah.
My hobbies. I'm basically an old lady.
Being a bully.
I like to knit and paint and do ceramics.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did a year of fine arts and I love doing artsy stuff. I don't do it anymore though because I'm super busy, but
That's what it comes down to. Is this like, does life allow enough time for these hobbies, right?
the most that I do is like I'll sit there and I'll binge watch like an entire season or something on Netflix and I'll probably finish a scarf while I do that.
All right. Well, what is your question, Kayla?
My question, I feel like we talk a lot about a lot of Nintendo. So like what would be your favorite non-Nintendo game?
Final Fantasy. is
Final
mine.
Fantasy?
Yes.
Really? Have you played all of them?
Not all of them.
Oh, okay. What's your
But-
favorite Final Fantasy?
10. Yeah. There's a lot of people that didn't like 13. I really enjoyed 13.
Giving you that look right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, what's yours?
Okay. I really enjoyed games like Red Dead Redemption. LA Noire was also very good, but not as much on the replayability. Borderlands 1 and 2 were both very good games. I would max out like the sniper classes in both of those. Yeah, those are some really good ones. Assassin's Creed 4, I remember I really liked number 4 mostly because pirates.
Oh, yes.
So
Love
that was
Pirates.
a good one as well. I was always told 2 was the best one, but that was the one I never played, so that sucks for me. Halo 1, like back on OG Xbox.
Best Halo.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I understand Halo 2 being objectively better, but I always liked Halo 1 better, which is kind of lame.
It's something about like the
Yeah.
memories of playing Halo, like hanging out with your friends, and like it's just really dumpy
And the
game. but you're having
pistol,
a great time.
The really overpowered pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. I was never really into Call of Duty. I tried, was never really into it. But other than, I guess Crash Bandicoot was my first that was like my first non-Nintendo thing that I got into, which is like still pretty like the Nintendo vibe.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
on the video where we talked about the rumor or the leak that Crash Bandicoot was coming to the Switch.
Oh, and then it was confirmed like
yeah,
that week.
a lot of people were
wow.
commenting like, "Oh, it'll never be on Nintendo Switch," and then the direct
Surprise.
comes, and it's like, "Hey,
Woo!
There's so many times where we will talk about things on the podcast and like be like, yeah, I think this will happen, and then Nintendo announces it, and I always feel like a king. I don't know.
I predicted
Yes.
it. I was there.
So
there.
there's a strange comment that I don't understand, but maybe you guys do."
Okay.
Noodles Bro says, "Y'all are like everything I want to be made into 3 separate people."
Huh?
Aw.
I
Well,
don't
clearly
understand.
it's because
I'm beautiful. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go. We get
we're
wants to be beautiful like Daniel.
we're all beautiful.
Smart like Jesse. I don't know what my thing is, but whatever I am.
You got cool hair.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
brought on all of the shampoo discussion earlier.
You have Chewbacca.
Jimmy Neutron for Smash 5 confirmed, says super fun. He must be behind a bit. Because
Yeah,
you were
he-
talking about
He
that
just
earlier.
messaged. He was like, I was over at Donkey. What just happened?
Why does Knockfox keep saying
Daniel
I'm
is
generic
generic.
in the chat?
Is he
What
the
is-
same one that used to
what?
say, "Oh, super fun," says you have a ghost? Kayla.
Why?
Daniel,
Why are
you're
you saying I'm-
generic.
Why? What is? I don't know how to feel about that.
Is,
Like, what
is he the same person that was insulting you the one time? Saying you were
Was-
like, what was it?
when?
You were like disproving of the theories or something like that, and someone said you were menacing or something.
Oh, I don't think so.
Daniel's
I
just
don't
another
feel
guy
so.
with a nose.
He is a guy with the nose.
In fairness,
Confirmed.
I have a large nose. There's no way around it.
Is that a fireplace beside you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I thought
But
you
I have this
were in a
TV
bedroom or
that I'm
something.
meaning to get rid of here
Why
that
why
I
are you
want-
getting rid of a TV?
because I have a better one now.
Ghost are they seeing?
So it's that guy standing behind you, Kayla.
Uh,
I don't see.
That's a ghost.
Are they looking in
Oh,
my
it's storming.
closet? Stop looking in my closet. Goodness.
Are you recording in your closet?
Yeah.
I am.
I've
yes.
been there. I've done that.
Live from Kayla's closet. Anyways, my favorite non-Nintendo video game is Borderlands. I've probably played easily over 500 hours of it.
Okay, what class though?
What if it comes on Switch?
I don't think it would come on Switch.
Doesn't feel very switchy.
Why?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. Who knows?
My favorite class is the Siren. Lilith is my bae.
I was always the sniper guy, Mordecai.
You know who you
Okay.
guys. Oh, I have a cool story about Borderlands in a second. But
Okay.
you guys saying that it wouldn't come to the Switch are like the people that said Crash wasn't coming to Switch.
So, because we've said it, it's
Okay.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I was gonna say.
Ooh, Dark
So-
Souls is a good one.
Do you guys know Handsome Jack?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Let me look this up. Make sure it's the right character.
Okay.
Oh, hold on.
But
That's
yeah,
not the
see,
character.
I have a little Lilith Funko Pop.
Okay. So,
Oh, I always
Yeah.
find Funko Pops actually kind of creepy. I don't
Do
know what it
you-
is about them.
Their eyes are so
It's- I
black.
think it's the eyes. The eyes
It's the
creep me out.
eyes.
are you guys fans of Troy Baker?
I don't know
Is
who
that the
is.
guy with the drums?
What? No.
Okay.
Did you ever play The Last of Us?
I actually have not.
I've played 20 minutes of it.
Okay, he.
Don't hate
in-
me.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see what games. So he voices the main character, Joel, from The Last of Us. He was in BioShock. He played a few people in the Batman games. He did a voice in Borderlands, which is why I brought it up. I thought he voiced Handsome Jack, but it was a different character. Yeah. Let's see, which character was it in
Wait,
Borderlands?
Who did, yeah, I was gonna say who did he voice in that game?
Tommy and Reese. No.
Nope, do not recall.
Reese was the guy in Borderlands 2 that you have to go get because he's dead. All those psychos killed him. It's like at the very beginning of the game before you go into the sanctuary.
Yeah. Well, after it has the 2 listed, and then it says additional voices. So I don't know.
Borderlands
Anyways,
1 I played through like 3 times. It's the same thing with Halo. Objectively, I understand that Borderlands 2 is better, but I love Borderlands 1 so much more. I played through Borderlands 2 once, and I was like, this is great, this is fun. But I played through the first one like 3 or 4 times. I couldn't get enough. I'm just putting that out there. It's just my bias just blinds me. That's all.
Anyway, I brought him up because one, he was in like the game that you guys were talking about, but two, he's one of the people that I want to try to get as a guest on the podcast. So I was wondering if you guys knew who he was or was fans of him, because I know a lot of people don't really focus on who actually does the voices in the games. Like, no one really cares who voices Link, you know? So...
But I still feel like getting a guest like that would be like, oh my gosh. And like it would
Yeah.
probably bring in a lot of other people that are like, whoa, cool, like I like that guy.
yeah.
And they tune in to see
Well,
him.
that's why we get you
just
on
appear.
here, because then all of your fans are like, oh my gosh, Kayla is on the podcast.
I'm
She's
so
on here,
sorry,
it's so polite.
but my only fan is my boyfriend.
Oh, well, that's one that we don't have, so. All right, I guess that brings us to the very end of the podcast. Daniel, where can people find you?
People can find me right here on this podcast, mostly. And also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at CaptBurgerson. Jesse undoubtedly put it in the corner of this video.
Mm-hmm.
This corner of the video, probably. Also, check out my website, burgersonmedia.com, where I put things that I do on that website, including a little bit of videos that I've edited for people and videos I made all by my own self and all that stuff. So go look at things, please.
All right. And what type of stuff can they find on your website or your other YouTube channel?
That's true. I guess I should put out that I do have a YouTube channel. Apparently I don't promote enough because when we had Ashley on, she didn't even know that I had a YouTube channel. It's NSHG Films. It's actually only about a quarter of my own YouTube channel. It's a shared channel with myself and my brothers who also make videos on there. But yeah, the videos I make, they're a bit of gaming fun, like people playing through games and having kind of a weird fun time, which is amusing at least. And then also a little bit of what's it called, analysis videos. Like I really promoted my Super Metroid video that lot, so that one's my favorite. On my website there's a few little tunes that I've made, some musical thingies, but really short little blips, not really anything significant. Links to all my videos that I've done and videos that I've edited. There's like a big list of all the ones I've edited for Jesse on there. So
Oh, where's that at?
check it out.
Your website?
It's
Where?
burgersonmedia.com.
I want to check
Should
that
I-
out too. I'd probably.
It's still Burgerson, like there's a burger and it has a child, and that's who I am.
Burgerson. It's okay.
Burgerson.
Gibb said, Super Burgerson Brothers.
I never thought of that. Burgerson actually just comes from a genuine mistake that someone misheard me say my last name, which is
And
Ferguson.
they thought you were Burgerson.
And they thought I said Burgerson, and I just loved it so much that I was like, forever Burgerson. And that was my. I just
I know,
started
I couldn't
making
find you on
every account.
Discord because you're like King Burgerson, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's right, I was.
All right. Kayla,
Hey,
who are you?
who am I? Oh, I'm Kayla. You guys can find me on Instagram or Twitter. I'd say Tumblr, but nobody uses Tumblr. At Chuplima. I don't really focus on anything. I just kind of post randomly throughout the world. I do, however, like to talk about Animal Crossing a lot. That's my really big thing right now. And yeah, you could also find me in Jesse's Discord if you guys want to talk. But I can guarantee I'm probably not paying attention unless you ping me.
That's 100% the same for me on Discord.
Nice. All right. And I am Jesse. We're Game Over Jesse. And yeah, everyone can find me at everything / Game Over Jesse. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, maybe, YouTube, Instagram, whatever else, all / GameOverJesse. Noodle says, do you use light or dark mode in Discord? We'll exit
Dark
on this question.
mode.
Do you use light or dark mode, Daniel?
Is there a light mode?
Yeah.
There's
I've
the
never-
white or the black.
I don't like the white one. It makes my eyes burn.
Yeah, all
Just
right.
looking at it.
There you go. Normal people use dark mode. All right. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Especially my
Yes.
super chat friends.
Yes.
Yes,
Big
Gibbs.
thank yous.
Gibbs, the super chats were Bronze Saber, hey, Gibbs for $5. Daniel, can I enforce your rules? Also, I noticed in Mario Odyssey in New Donk City, this is an Easter egg. I don't know if anyone found. One of the street signs says K. Rool, as in King K. Rool.
Yes. There's actually a number of. Look at all the street signs, friends.
Yes.
There's a K Rule. There's a Dixie Avenue.
Yeah.
There's Espresso, I think, and everything like a bunch of all Donkey Kong Country characters on
Alright.
the street sign. So
And
scope them out.
Our final super chat was from Gibbs for $2. Could Kayla stay
Woo!
a permanent guest on Le Podcast? All right. Once again, thank you all for your support. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for joining. Bye.